I sort of just jumped right in here, didn't I? I didn't even have my pre-intro.
Yeah, you didn't even say, hey, we're going to do a
Yeah,
show in a second. Nothing, just boom, cold turkey.
right. Cold
Countdown,
turkey.
it's on.
It's on. Hey, everybody. Welcome to How to Be a Warrior in His Kingdom. I'm Hebrew77 along with Armor Up. And we're going to talk about basically how to be a warrior in his kingdom. The title says it all. And if you don't know whose kingdom we're talking about, you better wake up. You better wake up because um, I forgot where I was going with that. Um,
You did put a
what's up,
capital H, right? I didn't look at the title. You got a capital
Cap-
H?
capital H?
Yeah, his kingdom.
Yeah, I think I got it all caps, all caps.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if it's a capital
So
H, they ought to know who we're talking about.
that's right. Wait a minute, capital H. How do you mean?
What do you mean, how do I mean? His, or anytime you're talking about the Father, Son, or Spirit, it's a capital. Even if it's a
Oh,
he, or a his, or a their, or a my, you know what I mean? It used to
okay.
be that way in the Bible, but that's one of the changes, I guess. It,
Mm,
I don't like it either, but yeah, it's true. The
I
capitals
see.
are gone usually. It's bothersome.
I see what you. Yeah, I remember that. I remember those. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. If they'd say his kingdom in the Bible, when Jesus said his kingdom, it was capital H.
Hmm.
Or my children, if Jesus says my children, it's capital M. It's just the way it is. Or the way it was, I should say, in most cases.
Hey, we got Lotar 900.
Lota 900's in the room. That's an easy shout out. He's the only one in there so far.
All right.
But hey, it's early. Hopefully, some more will
It is
trickle in.
early. Man, I'll tell you what, I wanted to go on earlier, but my body just wouldn't allow me to get up off that couch.
Yeah, we was planning on going on between 5:30 and 6, so yeah, we're only like 45 minutes later than planned.
Right? But
But that's good.
you know what they say, you can't plan these things sometimes. You just
Nah,
can't.
the best things are never planned, I've come to find out. That's why I quit planning a long, long time ago. Go with the flow. That's the way to do it.
So, Armor, let me ask you this, man. Um, how did you sleep last night? And don't say with my eyes closed, because that's an old joke.
On my side.
Yeah, on
But
your
I switched
side.
sides back
Hmm.
and forth through the night. Thanks for asking, though.
Yeah,
I'm not a back or a stomach sleeper. I'm a sider.
right. But what
I
I
don't know. I slept all right. Pretty sure. I mean, I'm older, so I get up through the night and make a trip to the bathroom every so often. More often
sure,
than I'd like to, but other than that, I slept. But not at night. I sleep during the day, as you know.
right, because you're a vampire.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody knows that.
yeah.
You know.
So I didn't go to bed till, I don't know, must have been 5 o'clock this morning. I think I went to bed.
You think that's an appropriate joke for this kind of show? I don't know. I just basically called you a vampire.
Oh, I've been called worse.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know. Oh my gosh, my computer moved.
Yeah, see? Keep messing with me, and that won't be the last thing that happens.
Right. Next thing,
Vampires got powers, don't forget. I'll send the bats after you.
next thing I know, a chunk of my ceiling will fall on me, which I'm surprised it hasn't already. The way this place is crumbling.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that feeling.
mhm. Hey, let me tell you this. Let me just tell you this real quick. The reason why I asked how you slept because we were up till like 3 in the morning, doing the show.
Well, yeah, about the time I normally go to work. That's what I noticed. We quit the show, and then you guys left the after chat. And I looked at the clock. It's like, huh, well, it's about time I'd be heading to work. So I stayed up, watched some videos, did some stuff. Said I went to bed, I think, around 5, 4:30 or 5.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, man. I was like, it started to become 5, and I was like, well, I might as well stay up now. I'm like, nope, no, I'm not. I'm going to bed. Because I know sometimes I'll do that though. If I stay up till 5, I'm like, well, I might as well just continue to stay up until I get tired. But I got tired. Let me tell you, I went right to sleep. Went night night in a hurry. So,
Lothar said he had a weird dream last night.
oh well, let's hear it.
He said he went to bed at 3 in the morning and dreamt about my wood pajamas. Wood
Wood,
pajamas. I don't
wood
even know
pajamas.
if we want to hear this story.
Hmm.
This could be trouble.
Yeah, you know
It's
how low.
Lothar.
Uh huh.
I'm scared to ask.
Yeah. Lotar, keep the jokes appropriate for our topic, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Good luck with that.
Gosh dang it! What the heck was that?
I don't know. See?
Yeah, I
Keep
gotta quit.
messing. You just asking for trouble. First you make a video titled that, and then you want to start messing. End
It's
up
high.
getting your butt kicked, and you won't even know what did it.
Uh huh. I know, right? Now wait a minute. What did I make a video entitled?
How to be a warrior in his kingdom.
Oh yeah, and then I start messing with you. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
and
oh,
Lothar and
yeah.
everything.
Oh, wood pajamas is
Oh,
slick.
slang for a coffin. Okay.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
see.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay. You dreamt about your coffin? You already got a coffin? Or the coffin you dreamt you were going to have? You don't already have a coffin, do you, Lothar? But anyhow, he'll answer here in a minute. There's always a
It's
delay.
slow on my delay. Let me ask you this real fast, and then we'll dive into the topic because we could talk for hours about this topic.
We probably will, yeah.
Yeah. Um, you have any certain kind of beverages over there that kind of keeps you awake and going?
Dude, I drink coffee 24/7 basically. I have for a long
So,
time. I drink it before bed. I drink right before I went to bed this morning. I was still drinking my coffee.
oh wow,
I drink coffee. Once in a while I'll drink a iced tea or I might get a soda once in a while, but I predominantly 99.9% of my liquid intake is black coffee. From
that's
the
your
time I get up till the time I go to bed.
that's your like if you're a robot, that would be your oil basically.
Yep, basically.
Yeah. How do you not have a sitting heartbeat of like 120? All that caffeine.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Seems like
I'm
if
sort
I
of, well, I sort of always was like a hyper. Like, I guess if I was a kid nowadays, they'd have me on the Ritalin saying I was, whatever they call it, hyper, I don't know, hyper deficit, I don't know what they call it. Anything they can to put the kids on drugs. But anyhow, I've always had like a real fast, hyper personality. So coffee don't really wake me up. Coffee,
hmm,
it's like if I take something that's most people would consider an upper,
mm-hmm.
like Coke or Speed or I forget what the legal uppers are called. Are they the amphetamines, the ones you get prescribed? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But that kind of stuff makes me go to sleep.
hmm.
Sort of like Ritalin. Ritalin is actually a speed, but they
Yeah,
give it to hyper kids to calm them down. You see what
makes
I'm saying?
makes
It's the
sense.
same thing. Anything that most people would do to hype them up, to give them energy, brings me down, calms me down, makes me tired, basically. It's weird, I don't know, but it's always been
So
that way.
so Lotar's in his dream was being harassed by a used coffin salesman.
Yeah, in Vienna. His
Hmm.
name was probably Eddie. Eddie Vienna Keen.
Yeah.
Probably sell him a van with a free coffin. He
Did
said
you
he tried to
notice?
sell him a coffin, wouldn't let him alone.
Yeah, did you
That's
notice I
crazy. That
said
is a crazy dream.
did you notice I said used coffin?
Yeah, yeah. This one's
uh,
fresh. We
yeah,
just cleaned it up.
right. No, man, that's a very specific
Do you know
dream.
that's weird though that you say that? Do you know you can rent a coffin?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it flipped me out, man. So there
How does
really
that
is like
even
used coffins
how
because
does
you
that
rent a
even work?
coffin for a viewing and then you're getting
Oh,
cremated.
okay. Yeah, I kind of see that.
Yeah, but ain't that just a tad bit? I don't know. That's just sort of creepy to me.
Well, why not, why let it go to waste? I mean, it's sort of like recycling, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But how many dead people's been in that coffin you just rented? Now Uncle Barney's in there with. I don't know. It
Yeah,
creeps me out, even though I know the body's just a body and there ain't nothing there anyway. But
right.
I don't know. It's just a little creepy.
It is. I'll agree. I'll agree. It is a little creepy, but I do see how sort of that could happen. How that, you know.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Hey, there you go. If sad,
Sadie needs to do a segment on that. It's a thing, renting a coffin. We're going to
there
have to
you
tell him.
go. Yeah,
I have to tell him, dude, you got to do an It's a Thing about renting coffins because it's a thing, dude.
yeah. I bet it would blow his mind too. It'd be like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind. What do you mean, rent a coffin? No, thank you. I'll pass. I'll pass on that. But,
I bet it's cheaper.
well, yeah, I would hope it's cheaper than buying one.
Yeah, sort of like rented bowling shoes. You know,
Yeah. But at least that's just somebody else's feet.
right,
That ain't their whole dead body.
right.
And I bought my own bowling shoes back in the day when I used to bowl because
Oh
that
yeah,
creeped me out too. Now I ain't
yeah,
putting my feet in. No, I'm not big on the
yeah.
renting stuff. Now I'll rent a car maybe if I would have to for an emergency, but yeah, I don't know.
Bowling alleys are open now. I seen a friend of mine. His bowling alley was open. He's a good old boy. He's like, he reads his Bible and studies about Jesus and stuff like that. And, I wouldn't call him a warrior of Christ, but I would say that he's a follower of Jesus. But he owns a bowling alley, and they're open. So I don't know. I don't know how they would go about the rented shoe thing. Is with the point I'm trying to make. Um,
Yeah, with Corona, how would they rent shoes?
yeah,
Probably wouldn't be able to.
Lothar.
Probably wouldn't be able to use one of their own bowls either. Probably have to have your own bowl, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, true. Oh
Hmm.
man, well, I imagine they like spray those down with Lysol, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I guess they could as soon as someone's done on the lane, spray the bowl down they were using or whatever.
I would love to go bowling. I haven't been bowling in a long time.
Hey, Lothar Schuh is in the room.
Oh, I would have called them Lothar Shula.
Shula? Where'd you get a la?
I don't know. It just feels like it needs a law at the end of it.
Oh, okay. Lothar Shula.
Yeah. Okay. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, people of the jury. I think it's time for us to get our serious caps on now and start talking about what we basically came here to talk about. Why did I say basically? It is what we're here to talk about.
However,
However, let's read Lotar's joke right now.
we just asked the other Lothar how's his ugly wife and ugly
Oh, he's
kids.
talking to him,
Yeah, he's
the other.
talking to the Lothar Shula.
Okay, yeah, Lotar, he's something. He's silly. I think he belongs here with us, man.
He definitely don't stick out in this crowd.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. He does
But
fit.
I know exactly how to kick off this topic.
All right, kick it off, my brother.
I'm gonna kick it off.
It's first quarter. Here we
Mhm.
go.
I'm gonna kick it, and it's gonna go to you, and you're gonna catch it, and you're gonna run it. You're gonna run it down for a touchdown.
All right, let's hope.
Mhm. So basically, here's what I've been thinking. I've been sitting there some days, and I just have time into myself sometimes. And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know, a lot of people in their heads think that Jesus was this sort of like peace, love, um, which he was about love. I'm not saying he wasn't, but they have this notion that he was like this peace, love, and hippie who just hung out with a bunch of like thieves and prostitutes and what do you call it? Oh yeah, tax collectors, which isn't true. Going by what you and I talked about backstage that one time, you told me the difference between hanging out and sort of like them coming to him with their sins and having him wash them away.
Right.
Um, but people forget that Jesus was a warrior in his own right. He really was. I mean, he didn't not in the warrior in the traditional sense, like a kilted warrior, like you see them like going around with swords. Not that kind of warrior, but more like a spiritual warrior. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. And so, but also for what happened to him and what he went through when he was tortured and then put up on that cross, and for him to suffer through all that and be right up there and answering people's prayers while he was up there. We're not answering their prayers, but letting them know that one guy say, "You will be with me in the kingdom of heaven." And for him to even pray to the Father at those final moments, to have the strength to do that after all that he was through, and then not to mention defeating death and coming back to life, defeating death. If you think about the power, the real true power that Jesus had, and he had the power, he not only to defeat death, he could have done a lot of things, but he didn't. He was very preserved, or reserved, not preserved, reserved in what he would do. Like he never over or misused his power, you know.
Right. Yep.
Uh, but he was definitely very, very, very powerful, and people forget that. People see him as this frail, little hippie dude, and that's not what Jesus was. There you go. I kicked it off. The ball's coming over to you. Go ahead and catch it and take off with it, brother.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, first of all, he told the thief on the cross he'd see him in paradise, not the kingdom of heaven. So
Oh,
just correct that one real quick, because they could be different things, possibly. But we won't get into that. That ain't what this show's about. Hey, Catherine, the ever lovely Catherine Snows just popped in.
oh, cool.
Always good to see her.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, in my eyes, Jesus was like, well, what you wanted to call the show just popped in my head. He was the ultimate warrior. I mean, there is no warrior ever that was as good slash bad at what he did. I don't know how you would say that because he's a bad warrior. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
bad, but
Like
good.
a
So
bad
he
dude.
was basically the
Right.
ultimate warrior in his warfare.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, we look at warriors in our earthly warfare way, like Roman soldiers and,
Right.
like you said, the Vikings or the conquering nations, the Army and Navy and Air Force and Marines. You know, those are the warriors as we see them, but that isn't the type of warrior he was. He was his He said, "My kingdom isn't of this world." His war was never physical, and he makes that plain through Paul and Ephesians and many other places. His war, we don't war against the flesh. We don't war against physical things. We war against principalities, powers. It's all in Ephesians. We could read it if you want. We probably will later because we'll probably have to get into the armor if we're going to talk about warfare. So we're probably going to have to read that because we need to break it down. But there's no doubt Jesus was a warrior. I agree with what you're saying there, 100%. But not a warrior like we think of warriors because our
Right.
mind can't comprehend his warfare, unfortunately. And most Christians don't even comprehend warfare and what it's all about. Although we're all called to fight this battle, some in different ways, but we're all called to fight this battle. So, first of all, I mean, people need to recognize there is a battle. That's the biggest problem. People don't realize we are at war, or something, I should say it better this way. Things are at war for us, or against us, to us. Things are at war over us from the moment we're born. You got the enemy who wants to kill, steal, and destroy us, and you got the Father who wants to bless us and give us life and peace and joy and happiness and all the things he talks about. So you got these two factions warring over everyone. And we need to recognize the fact that there's a war, first of all. Because if we don't pick a side, the enemy's going to win because you're not going to realize you're in a battle. You got to realize you're in a battle. Once you realize you're in a battle, it's easy to win the battle. That's what Jesus is all about. We don't have any problem winning. We don't have any problem defeating anything that comes against us. But if you don't even realize you're in a battle, you've already lost because you're not even fighting back. So the enemy's just going to have his way with you because he's in control of this world and things in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people don't like to admit that. They like to fall back on the thing, and this, in my opinion, is easily misconstrued, that the devil or the enemy has to have permission to do anything to you. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Now I know it's true if you're a born again son or daughter of God. If you are truly born again, filled with the Holy Spirit, following Jesus Christ, doing what we're supposed to be doing, then I agree. The enemy can't touch you. He can't do a thing to you that the Father don't allow him to do. I agree. 100% I agree with that. But I don't think that goes for everybody in the world. You see what I'm saying?
Well, also, if I may interrupt you for just a second, also, the devil doesn't need permission to sort of put ideas into your head to do things like temptations, for an example. Like he'll make temptations appear right in front of you without you even realizing it, like that temptress, like a beautiful woman, maybe coming on to you when you're married, stuff like that.
Or a bottle of wine, or if you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
quit drinking, or
Yep.
a needle if you're trying to quit,
Right.
or a whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it ain't just beautiful women or any. Yeah, he will tempt you with whatever your weakness is, and you got a weakness. I don't care who you are. You probably got a few till the Spirit starts cleaning you up. But you got ways the enemy can get in, and he knows them better than anybody. Hey, the Lions of the Lord is in the chat.
All right. I don't know who that is, but welcome.
Me neither. But I can't agree with that comment either.
Oh.
He said if God let Satan do what he did to Job and Jesus, then God is not a reliable source of protection.
Mm.
Oh, I totally disagree with that. God is a perfect source of protection. I'm living proof. And he let Satan do what he did to Job to teach Job what he needed to learn. And he let Satan do what he did to Jesus because that was the whole battle plan from the beginning. That was leading Satan right into his trap. Jesus wasn't going into that blind. Jesus knew what he was coming to do. So,
and And
He
in a
wasn't
way,
looking to God for protection from that. He was on a mission from God to do that. So
this
now Job, on the other hand, I see your point, but he did that to teach Job a lesson he needed to learn.
exactly, that's what I was going to ask you. Wasn't that more of a test to Job's faith than it was anything else, really? That he
Well,
allowed
it was
the
to
devil.
teach Job a lesson. It was to teach Job's friends a lesson. It was to teach everyone a lesson, including us. That was done to teach a lesson. And also, he was a great sense of protection for Job because Job lived and got back double everything he had lost. So he was a source of protection for Job. He's the only thing that kept Job alive through that ordeal, actually. But anyhow, that got me off track a little bit. First of all, you got to realize you're in a battle or you're not even in the battle. And again, I don't think the enemy can do a single thing to a true born again believer that the Father doesn't allow. And as that comment points out, the Father does allow us to go through stuff. Jesus told us we were going through stuff, a lot of stuff. When you start following Jesus, it don't get easier in the world. That's what a lot of people think. And then when it don't get easier, they give up on Jesus because they didn't get the Mercedes the preacher told them they was going to get, or the perfect marriage, or the health, or the things started happening. They're like, well, this wasn't supposed to. I'm supposed to be following Jesus, and everything's supposed to be all happy. No, you're following the wrong Jesus. Follow the one in the Bible, because he tells you you're going to be hated, you're going to be persecuted, you're going to be tried. The enemy wants to sift you like wheat. I'm going to pray your faith holds out, because you're going to be going through some stuff. That's the Jesus I follow. That's what I consider the real Jesus. That's the Jesus that's in the Bible anyway. That's the Jesus that speaks with the red letters in most versions. He never promised a good life now. He promised trials, tribulations, but he promised he'd be with us. He promised we ain't going through this alone. He promised he's given us everything we need to beat it. And he promised he's going to give us joy, happiness, and peace the whole time we're going through it. That's what Jesus is all about. He does give us protection. He gives us the Spirit. Now, if we get out of the Spirit and get back into the world, it don't feel good. It might be painful. It might be something you don't want to go through. But there's always a lesson in it. And you were told you're going to go through it. So don't give up on Jesus because he's doing exactly what he said was going to happen. And that's what's wrong when they teach this easy believism, or if you come to Jesus, he makes your life perfect. No, the enemy hates it when you come to Jesus. So your worldly life is going to be far from perfect. I'm not saying Father can't do that. I'm sure there are people who get blessed. I get blessed.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, but it ain't blessed like people think of blessed. They think blessed is a new car or a new house or a
Oh no.
whatever. I got blessed when I got up this morning. I got blessed with the fact that I got a job
Yeah.
when this stuff hit and everybody was closing down. I got a job. I
Yeah.
got blessed with a job I got that lets me do what I do online, didn't interfere with it at all, and I got a job. These are blessings. You know what I mean?
That's what I consider blessings, Armor. It's like the things that you need, not the things that you want. You get blessed with things that you need more, like not, nobody needs a car, not really. There's other ways of transportation, but people need a roof over their head, they need food in their bellies, they need clothes on their back, those kind of things. And like you said, and I know you didn't gloss over it. What you said is like, we're blessed every time we get up in the morning because we're never guaranteed another day.
Exactly. Exactly. But we're talking about warfare. What's it mean to be a warrior? So, like I said, the first step is you got to realize there's a war. You ain't going to be a warrior if you don't even realize there's a war. So, until you realize the enemy's real, Father, Jesus, Holy, all this stuff is real. till you realize it's real, you can't even begin to be a warrior. You're just a pawn. Because, like I said, the enemy's in control of this world. And you reap what you sow. I mean, there's so many reasons so much happens. You know, I was just talking. Well, I better not share too much because I was talking to someone who lost a baby. Like, I think it was an hour after it was born. And they were like, we was talking about the father and stuff, and they were like, I get mad at God because I can't see how he took our baby an hour after it was born. And I was like, well, first of all, Father loves honesty, so don't be ashamed to say, why the hell did you take my baby an hour after it's born? I don't understand. You know, don't be afraid to go to the Father when you're mad, when you don't get it, when you're... Father loves honesty. Be honest. You can't hide nothing from him anyhow. They can't go to him and say, oh, I love you, Father, thank you so much. And the whole time you're like, why the hell did you take my baby when it was one?
Right. He knows your thoughts.
Right. So I said, first of all, go honestly to the Father. Let him know you're mad, you don't understand. I said, but let me tell you something. Father didn't take your baby. That's what you're looking at wrong. And that's what we do. Why did God let this happen? And that's my point of saying, and that all stems from the verse, the devil can't do anything without God's permission. That's why that's so tricky. Again, I don't think that applies for the world. I think that only applies to born-again believers. So first of all, if you ain't a born-again believer, the devil didn't even have to come ask the Father to take that baby. This is what I believe. Because this is his world. There's disease that he created that could have took that baby. There's many reasons that baby could have been taken. But I can guarantee you, Father didn't take it. Father cried the moment that baby was taken, just like they did. Mm-hmm. This is hard for people to understand. I know, because it's mind-blowing. But it's, like I said, and this is all my opinions, this whole show. I got scriptures I can back it up with. But we're basically saying the way I look at things.
The second thing to that, I didn't want to interrupt you while you're in the middle of that because I know you'll lose your train of thought. But the second part of that also, the one thing that I struggle with is we all were given free will. So, and God promised never to interfere with that free will. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, and that's a big part of why everything that's happening happens. You know, Father's in total control. There's no doubt about that. But that don't mean he controls everything that happens at that moment in time. He already knew what was going to happen. He already has a plan for what's going to happen. He's going to turn all that bad to good. I guarantee you that. Guaranteed. Anything meant for evil is turned to good in the end. I guarantee it. I've seen it. It's... Just take my word for that one. If you come to him, everything bad that ever happened gets turned to good. And everything bad that they do to children is all turned to good, believe me. Yeah, I ain't getting into that. But either way, it's a fact. You can put that in the bank. Father knew everything that was going to happen. But like you said, we have free will. Father doesn't interfere. Father don't make us come to him. Father don't make you do anything. Father gives you free will to do what you want. And unfortunately, with free will comes a lot of bad. Because most people use their free will to do bad things. So that's the problem with the world. Because unlike the Father, the enemy has no problem interfering. He has no problem trying to trick you. No problem whispering things in your ear. No problem making you do things his way. This is his world. It's another big part of being a warrior. You better realize this is his world. Mm-hmm. He is the ruler of this place. This is his. Father rules it all. Father's got plans for all of it. But at this moment in time that we find ourselves in, this is the enemy's playground. This is his world. It's his stuff. It's all his. That's the whole point of why Jesus came, to separate us from this world, to make us realize who's in charge, so we can be warriors to fight against the enemy. Because we can fight against him. It's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not just supposed to be going through this world getting our butt kicked by the enemy, which is exactly what we do if we don't fight against him. He'll just use you however he wants to use you, whether you know it or not. He'll use you to lure other people. He'll use you to hurt other people. You can see it all around you. He'll use you to murder your baby. He'll use you to rape a child. He'll use you to rob a grandma. He'll use you to kick a dog. He'll just use you to do whatever he wants.
You know,
You don't realize he's using you.
a lot of people say we're unwilling pawns in the grand scheme of things, but I think that we are willing pawns in the grand scheme of things. You just don't realize it.
Yeah, that's the problem. We don't realize we're in war. Most of the people out there don't believe any of this stuff. And I'm talking the Christians, let alone the world, who don't even begin to believe any of this stuff. I'm talking most so-called Christians don't believe in warfare. They don't believe in deliverance. They don't believe in spiritual warfare. They don't believe the bad things like satanic ritual abuse that goes on. They just don't believe this, mostly because they've never been told about it. Churches don't talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? If you go to a normal pastor and say, what's it mean to be a warrior for his kingdom, they'll probably take you to Ephesians and quote a little bit about the armor and not even know themselves what it means to be a warrior for his kingdom. The way Jesus was a warrior for his kingdom. Because they don't realize they're really at war. They think they're saved, they think everything's all right, and they just go on about their life, still being attacked and not understanding why nothing's changing. Because you're not fighting back. You're just playing Christian. And playing Christian don't work. You ain't beating nothing without the spirit. Even the fake spirits, the enemy will give you fake stuff. He'll let you think you're winning little battles when the whole time you're just losing the war. The enemy ain't above cheating, lying. I mean, we underestimate the enemy way too much. I don't like to give the enemy too much credence, because then they'll say, oh, you're glorifying the enemy, and that's not good either. If you don't know you got an enemy, you got problems. So this show ain't about glorifying evil. It's about making sure you realize it's real. Because I don't glorify the enemy. The enemy's nothing. Mm-hmm. But he's a whole lot if you ain't got the spirit. If you ain't got the spirit, you ain't got a hope of beating the enemy. You never will. Ever. You will never beat the enemy without Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. It's impossible. He might play with you and let you think you want a battle here or there. He'll string you along forever. But you ain't beating the enemy without the Holy Spirit. Period. There is no other way.
And the only one we should be glorifying is Jesus. Well, I mean God, but Jesus also, right? I don't know.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, we glorify the Father. Everything's about the Father.
Right. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forgot where he's going now. But anyhow.
Sorry about that. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I have no clue where I was. It's gone. I don't know what I was talking about.
You're talking about glorifying the enemy. In no way should we glorify the enemy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this ain't about saying Satan's all-powerful and fear him. But I will tell you, if you don't realize Jesus is all-powerful, and our Father's all-powerful, and the Spirit he puts in us is all-powerful, then you better be fearing the enemy, because he is powerful enough to whoop your butt time after time after time. Because there ain't nothing you're going to do about it until you got those three in your life. Till you have a personal relationship with the Father, Son, and Spirit, till you're filled with the Holy Spirit, till you know who Jesus was and what he did and the warrior he was, you ain't got a chance. I'm just straight up telling you. You might as well forget it. You ain't even in the fight. And if you think you're in the fight, you're just going to constantly lose. Because the enemy is powerful in this world. This is his world. This is his kingdom. Jesus said, my kingdom's not of this world. So to be a warrior of his kingdom, like we're talking about, first of all, we understand it ain't this world.
Right.
I'm not fighting to save this world. This world's the enemy's. This world's history. This world is done. When the end comes and the end game's played and Jesus sets up the new kingdom and the new earth and the new heaven,
Heck yeah.
this is history.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah, ain't we all?
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with this world because this world is the enemy's. This whole world system is the enemy. The governments, the religions, the everything. Everything in this world, everything material that we see is the enemy's. Now, it don't all work for the enemy, obviously. There are people who fight against it. But I'm saying...
there are good people on it.
Right, but the ones that are on it, fighting the right way, aren't fighting for the world. We're fighting against the world. That's another important thing to realize if you're going to be a warrior for this kingdom. We're not fighting for this world. We're fighting against it. Everything about it. There is nothing good in this world. Period. There's lots of pretend good. There's lots of moments of good.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of things that look good to lead you astray.
Say, there is some things I do like about it. I do like the beautiful sunsets and sunrises, and aesthetically pleasing things. But I know what you're talking about, but I'm just saying that, there is beauty in it.
Right. Yeah, our Father's in everything. Let's not forget that either. Good point. The enemy runs this world and rules this world. But our Father's still in this world. Like you said, you can see Father in the sunsets, in the mountains, in the flowers, in the animals. That's why I put what I put in my videos. Animals and flowers and sky and nature. And yeah, Father's all around us. Father ain't forsaken us. But he has warned us that this world is not on our side. It is 100% against us if we are followers of him. The things of this world, the man-made stuff. I'm not talking about the nature. I'm talking about all this man-made stuff, all these governments, all these churches, all these buildings, all these systems, all this man-made stuff is the enemy's. All of it. Yeah, Father's here. Father did create this. It fell, but his hand's still in it. We still see his beauty. So I'm not saying Father ain't here, but I'm just saying Father's war isn't here. Jesus didn't fight here. He didn't come to save this planet or plane, whatever term you prefer. That wasn't what it was about. He came to preach the Father's kingdom. And he told him it ain't of this world. Period. There's no debating that. His kingdom ain't of this world. It has nothing to do with this world. It's a whole different system. No part of this world is any part of his kingdom. None of it.
You just reminded me, I love the part in the Bible where he talks about the what's his name? Pontius Pilate? Or no, was it Pontius or the other guy that said, so you think you're and I'm paraphrasing here, you think you're some kind of king or something, you're or something like that. He says, my kingdom is not of this world, because if it was, you would not be in it or something like that. Is that what I'm misquoting? I know, so go ahead and correct me.
Well, basically it's when Pilate was asking him, so they say you're a king. You claim to be a king. And he said, you say I am. And then he said about, see, I have to paraphrase it too. I don't have it pulled up. But he basically says about, they scare Pilate by thinking that's how they trick him into crucifying Jesus. Say, look, he's a king. He's going to lead a rebellion. They're going to rise up against you. You're going to be in trouble. And Jesus says, my kingdom isn't of the world, of this world. If it was, my followers would fight for it. So he's basically telling Pilate, look, they're lying to you. I mean, this is all subliminal, hidden in there, but it's easy to see if you look. So none of this is written exactly the way I'm saying it, but this is what was going on. This is what was happening. He was basically telling Pilate, look, you ain't got to worry about me rising up against Rome. My kingdom ain't of this world. It has nothing to do with this world. If it was, my followers would fight for it. He's telling them there ain't going to be no rebellion from us. That this ain't the way it works. Our kingdom ain't of this world. We're not going to fight for anything in this world. This ain't our... There's nothing here worth fighting for, is basically what he's saying. My followers, my warriors, aren't going to fight the way you think they're going to fight. Because this world fights for possessions. This world fights for land, or for territory, or for their system. That ain't what this fight's all about. This fight has nothing to do with this world. That's what I'm trying to point out. There's nothing in this world we fight for. We don't fight for this country. We don't fight for this race of people. We don't fight for... And none of this. All of this is the enemy's. It's all pretend. This is all a distortion of the way it was supposed to be. None of this matters. Race don't matter. Land don't matter. Systems don't matter. None of this was meant to be. None of this will be in the new kingdom. Like I said, it's so hard for people to wrap their head around because the only reference we got is world.
Right. It, it kind of reminds me of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God sends the two angels to go down and check it out because somebody said, like, there are people down there worth saving. And so he goes, okay, go down and find me one person that's in, I forget which town it was, Sodom or Gomorrah, I think both. And, he says, go find me one person down there worth saving. Or go find me, I think it was, well, I don't know, it was an X amount of people. And they couldn't find them. So they went back to him. He said, well, then find me, another X amount of people. And said, okay. So he's like, well, just find me one person, one good person down in those cities. So it got all the way down to one, and it was hard for them to even find that, but they did eventually. And God didn't destroy both towns. Or no, he saved one of them. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but I do like how we compare, or how I like to compare that story to what's going on in the end times, and how this world does have some good people in it. However, with that being said, this world has already been corrupted. It's already had evil hands in it, so it's no good. It's best to let it fall by the wayside and create a different world that has no human sort of human. You know what I'm saying, Armor? Help me out.
Well, yeah, I think you're talking about the story of Lot. He saved Lot and his family out of it, although his wife turned back and didn't make it. But
Right.
that was the Sodom and Gomorrah. And yeah, that's a good example. You know what I mean? The good people that's here, the followers, the believers, we're not worried about this world getting burned up. Believe me. Like I said, I don't. This world's history. It don't bother me in the least because I realize how wicked it is.
Oh yeah.
It bothers me that a lot of people are going to perish because they won't listen or won't come to the truth, but you know what I mean? That's out of my hands. That's between them and the Father. That's the whole point of free will, and it's the same with the Father. You can't force anyone. Father doesn't force anyone to love him or follow Jesus or be filled with the Spirit. He never forces anybody. We can't either. We can't force people to not perish. It's that simple. We can't. We can pray for them. We can do the stuff we do in warfare, which we'll get into hopefully here in a bit. But
yeah,
we can't save them. Dude, we got to take that pressure off ourselves. A lot of people want to go out and evangelize, and they think it's stand on the corner and tell the homosexuals they're going to hell is going to save them. You can't save them. Tell them the truth. Stop preaching to them about their damnation and preach to them about their salvation. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Not condemning people, saving them from their condemnation. Condemnation's from the enemy. Conviction's from the Spirit. There's so many so-called Christian preachers and street preachers and evangelists out there preaching condemnation. Well, if you're preaching condemnation, I know who you're preaching for. You see what I'm saying? Because the enemy is condemnation, not the Father. So if you're preaching condemnation, that shows me right there how I need to know about your ministry. Whether you know it or not, you're a preacher for the enemy, because you're preaching the enemy's doctrine. The enemy's doctrine is condemnation, part of it. Now, if you're preaching conviction and hope and repentance, now you're talking my God's language. Now you're talking Jesus' gospel. It's that simple, and it's that subtle, and it's that sneaky, the way the enemy does things. You see what I'm saying? There could be good people who truly think they're following Jesus and the Father, yet they're speaking condemnation and not realizing that that's the gospel of the enemy. You see what I'm trying to get at? It's that subtle and sneaky. It's that easy to fall into the enemy's trap. And you're thinking you're doing the will of the Father. And then when the end comes, you're going to wonder why he said, "Get away from me, I never knew you." And you'll be like, "But I did all this stuff." Yeah, but you did it with the wrong heart. You did it with a condemnation spirit. That's the enemy. You got to do it with a conviction spirit. That's the Spirit. I mean, that's just one little example of how subtle and good the enemy is at what he does. And how he's got so many people who really think they're saved that ain't even close, because they don't get the Spirit. They don't get the truth. They don't seek. I don't know why. I don't know why people don't see this, but it's right there. And that's all part about being a warrior. First, you got to realize you're at a war, and then you better realize how you war. Because you could easily be warring the wrong way, which puts you right back in the enemy camp, whether you know it or not. You see what I'm saying? It's so easy to pretend or get the enemy to let you think you're doing the right thing, as long as he keeps you from discovering the truth of what Jesus taught. Because that's all right there in what Jesus taught. Jesus is the one that said, the enemy stands before you. He's the accuser. He's the condemner. Jesus said that. I don't know why people don't see it. You know what I mean? I don't know. And Jesus said the Holy Spirit's the one that convicts. There's a big difference there. Good question, Catherine. She says, is condemnation the same as judging? No. Depending on how you're judging. Are you judging in a condemning spirit? Or are you judging in a convicted spirit? We have to judge. That's another big misconception, which we talked about before, so we won't get into too much.
Oh, yeah, I even made a video about it.
Yeah. To say, judge not lest you be judged, and take the plank out of your hand, all the verses they like to throw out there saying you shouldn't be judging. Well, that goes totally against everything Jesus taught about taking every thought captive, testing every spirit. I mean, if you don't judge, how are you ever going to be on the right path? You have to judge right from wrong. You have to judge false doctrine from Jesus's gospel. You have to do that, because the enemy is lying all over the place. The enemy will just lead you around by your nose all day if you ain't ever judging what he's telling you. So we have to judge, but we don't judge people. And this is so hard for people to understand. I might judge what someone's saying. I might judge the doctrine they're teaching. I might call it out. But it's never the person. It's the doctrine, or it's the spirit behind that person. That's why I don't call out names. People's like, why don't you just name names? Because that's the whole opposite of what we do. We don't name names. The name don't matter. If I name that name, the spirit's going to just jump over to this name. And then they're going to start doing it. And you're going to avoid this name, who now maybe got saved and now needs a friend who you're avoiding because of a name. You see what I'm saying? So names don't matter. It is never the person. It's the doctrine or the spirit that's using that person. So when we judge, how can I put it? Like I said, it's so hard to talk about this stuff because all we got's a worldly view. When we think of judge, we think of a judge. We think of worldly way of judging. But that isn't how we judge. We judge right and wrong. It's called discernment. We judge false doctrine and real doctrine. We judge sin and holiness. It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see a person teaching a false doctrine, like happened recently, then I will make a video if called to do so. I don't just go make a video. Trust me. I could make lots of videos calling out lots of stuff if that's what I did, like a lot of channels do.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't do that. But if the Spirit says, okay, you've got to warn people about this because it's pretty prevalent, and so at least let them know this is wrong, which is all I try to do. You know what I mean? So I'll make a video. I'm saying, look, this stuff's creeping in. This is the way they're twisting the scriptures and lying, and this is what's happening. Take it to Spirit, check it out, see what you think. That's all I do. I don't call out a person. I can't help it if someone recognizes themselves, you know what I mean, and thinks I'm calling them out. I can't help any of that. But I'd never call out a person or a channel or a name. I call out a doctrine. I call out a false teaching. I call out a sin. I call out this or that. But I'm not judging the person. I know the person's lost. I'm praying for the person. I'm not judging the person. I'm judging their doctrine. And I'm finding their doctrine wanting. And then I'm warning about the fact that this doctrine is false. And how it can lead you astray. And what it leads to. And whatever else the Spirit shows me about it that it needs me to talk about. That's what the video is about.
Mm-hmm.
The doctrine, not judging a person. It has nothing to do with the person. There's lots of millions of those persons out there. You couldn't possibly call out every name for one thing. And we're not supposed to call it. It's not the person.
No.
It's the spirit. That one spirit, well, the group of them, are causing this through all the people. So calling out the person does nothing. Calling out the spirit, pointing out the evilness, praying against the spirit, bringing people some knowledge, because the people die from lack of knowledge, bringing them the knowledge
Right.
of how this is wrong, that's what defeats it.
Here's the thing also, that word judge, the word judging, it's not what people think, how they, like you pointed out, when you think of a judge, you think of a fat guy in a robe handing you a sentence, but it's not. The word judge in the Bible, as I think you pointed out, I think you pointed this out to me, is not exactly what we perceive it to be. And I'll let you go ahead and answer that. But
exactly. That reminds me exactly what we're talking about when I was talking about condemnation and conviction. If you look up judge, when you find it in the Bible, like judge not lest you be judged, or be not, whatever it says now. Judge not lest you be judged is the way I say it. If you look that up right there and look at what that means, the original Greek in that situation, because it's New Testament, the original Greek, or if you go into Hebrew and look up, well, don't go to Judges because they are talking about literal earthly judges. So, but when you see judge there and you look it up, one of the definitions for the original Greek word is condemn. So we're right back to condemnation. We do not condemn. That's what that judge means there. Condemn not, lest ye be condemned. That would be a more appropriate way of translating that nowadays. We say judge, and it gets us thinking all kind of wrong things. But if it said condemn not lest you be condemned, it might be a little more clear what it's talking about. We don't condemn anyone, ever. I don't condemn people. I was lost, man. If anyone could have been condemned, it was me, and I was. You know what I mean? So, first of all, why would I ever condemn anybody? Because they ain't done half of what I've done, for one thing. So, I don't pot call a kettle black. You know what I'm saying? I've done all kind of wickedness in my life. So why would I ever condemn you for something you're doing? But I will try to convict you, and I will call out the lies and the false doctrine that you might be spreading, without ever mentioning you. No need to mention you to point out the lies that you're spreading. That's the difference. But we never condemn anyone. We pray for them. Hopefully they can be saved. I was, thank goodness. I was bad. I was really bad. I was on the wrong path, happily, joyfully on the wrong path, serving the enemy. So if anyone should be condemned, it should have been me. But by the grace of our Father and His love and mercy, He showed me that it's not so. I don't have to be condemned. I can be set free, just like we all can. But again, until you realize you're in a battle, until you realize you even need set free, you ain't never going to be set free. Do you realize you're a sinner? Do you realize how bad you really are? There ain't even no sense trying to play. You can pretend to follow Jesus all you want, but do you realize how much you needed Him? You ain't never going to appreciate Him. You ain't never going to truly give up everything and follow Him till you realize how He is everything.
That's the thing. It's like worldly goods, like our we're attached. Like no matter what it is, like we're attached to this world and its worldly things, like your car or your house, or I would even go so far as to say family, but family, of course, is more important than all that stuff. But I mean, we're just so attached to the world, the things of this world, that we truly don't know how, or I won't say know how, but it's like the disciples, for an example. The disciples were told they had to drop everything and follow Jesus, and some of them guys had a hard time with that. Like I think was it Peter? Peter had a hard time with leaving all that he had behind and following Jesus at first. Like it took some convincing.
Uh, I think all His disciples followed Him when He asked them, that I
Right.
can remember.
No, but I thought like one of them, or maybe it was somebody that. Oh no, I know what it was. Is the
You're
rich
thinking of the rich man, probably.
Yeah, the rich man.
Yeah.
It was the one that was like, "What do you mean? Um, all that I worked for, all that my father worked for, and all that I saved up, I'm supposed to drop all of that and follow you?" And he was like, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, he was like, "Forget it, man. I ain't doing that." And Jesus like, "See, it is harder for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven than it is for the camel to pass through the eye of a needle."
Right. Yeah, and
So
that metaphor gets lost because people think of a camel and a sewing needle,
yes,
and that's not at all what that was
right.
talking about.
No, it's a cave, right? Like a
Well,
cavern.
no, it's one of the entrances into the city. It's
Oh,
called
okay,
the
okay,
Needle. It's an
right.
entrance. It's just another gate, but it's a real small one that they normally didn't take camels through, because if you had took a camel through, you'd have to unload it just so it would fit and then load it back up. So that's what he meant. He
But
didn't
what
say
I,
it's impossible. He said it'd be as hard as the camel trying to go through the eye of a needle. They
right,
understood that meant, oh, that's a lot more work than just walking around to the big gate and taking him in. That's what he meant. It's a lot harder. It's gonna be a lot more work for you to make it than for them to make it, because you're stuck on your riches. That's basically what that
right,
story was saying.
and all that. What the point I was trying to basically make was that you say that like That's what we have to do to be true followers of Jesus, is drop all of our what we know of this world and drop everything and take up our cross and follow Jesus. And that's it's hard, but it's not hard. It is, but it's easy to do once you commit to it. But the hard part is actually committing to it and wanting to follow Jesus. That's the key right there, I think. And I think a lot of people, that's why a lot of people don't really truly follow Jesus, because they can't leave all that behind. They can't stop doing the bad stuff that they're doing. The bad habits that we have and stuff like that. It's hard for them. And but like you said earlier on in the program, a true reborn, I don't want to say Christian, but a reborn, yeah, I guess I could say Christian, in the sense of what we're talking about. But you're talking about this world and how it's finished and it's no good. And I think the problem people have to wrap their minds around is all they know. They only know of this world. They don't know of any other worlds like the kingdom of heaven or anything like that. It's hard for a person to visualize this, and it's hard for them to, in their hearts, to let go of all that which they hold dear. And you know, it really is. And but if you love Jesus and you believe in Jesus and you believe in what he's telling you, you don't want to go to certain places that you probably will go to be punished. Then you truly seek forgiveness and you truly seek redemption, so to speak. And I think I'm on to something here, but I'm not quite 100%. But I do know that me, for an example, I have my what you call, I don't want to call them guilty pleasures or whatever, but I have my faults and my downfalls, and it's still hard for me to pick up that cross and follow Jesus because of all the worldly things that I think about. And that's no good. We gotta quit. We sort of got to quit doing that. We got to stop thinking the physical and start taking up the spiritual. Is what I was trying to say with that.
Right, but we never will, and that's what we've got to understand. This is a constant battle. It don't end. The enemy don't stop whispering stuff in your ear, even when you are true born again, son and daughter of God. Believe me, it don't work that way. The enemy kicks it up a notch because this is his world. He can. You know what I mean? Now, like I said, I also truly believe he can't touch you unless the Father lets him. But the Father isn't going to stop him from tempting you and doing things to you, because the Father uses them to refine you, to purify you, to teach you, to show you that he's with you, to help you learn how this all works, to grow and grow so you can be stronger and stronger. I mean, I didn't come out of the gate knowing how to tell the enemy, get out of here, you're bugging me. You see what I'm saying? This is years and years of slowly understanding more and more. So it's a constant growth, which means it's a constant battle, which again is why Jesus told us you're going to have tribulations. It ain't going to be easy, but stick with me, and I'm sticking with you, and I'll get you through it, and I'll give you this to help you beat it, and we can do this, you know what I mean? But he tells us all that because he knows there's a fight. There's going to be a fight the rest of your life if you're trying to follow Jesus, because the enemy's never going to stop trying to get you back. The enemy don't like to lose. He's very prideful.
Right.
You talk about one of the worst losers ever, that would be the enemy. He does not like to lose. He thinks he's all that.
Loser.
He thinks he's God, and he means it. You know what I mean? So yeah, and that's why, again, we're talking about warfare.
I listened to your testimonial, not testimony. Well, I guess it is sort of a testimony. but I listened to it, and one of the things that stuck out for me was, um, what the heck was I going to say here? Um, what is that?
Oh, that's my dog playing with his
Oh,
squeaky
okay.
pig.
It scared me there for a second. I thought a demon was trying to attack me.
Yeah, I'd like to see one come in my house. Bring it.
All right.
They gave that up a while ago. Like I said, they still attack her. Don't get me wrong, but yeah,
Oh, one of the things. Okay, I just remember what I was going to say. One of the things that stuck out to me, what you said, is what I used to think. I used to think on terms of human, being a good guy. Like I always thought that if I was a good dude and I did what the Bible was, what was asked of me, or at least tried to do what the Bible was asked of me, I knew I was still going to sin and be a sinful person. And that's just the nature of humanity, is how I thought at that time. But I thought as long as I was sorry for what I was sinning for, and I tried to stay on track, and I prayed to God every night and every day when I woke up in the morning, and I did good deeds. I thought that was going to lead me to the kingdom of heaven. But boy, was I was I sadly mistaken, because it takes a lot more than just being a good person, uh, to get into the kingdom of heaven. I'll tell you. And even to this day, I'm far from that, but I am working on it, and I think that as a human being, it's something that we all struggle with.
yeah, absolutely. And first of all, there is no good person. So if you believe Jesus, like I do, he said, why do you even call me good? There ain't none good but the Father. So if Jesus didn't even consider himself good, I'm not even going there then. You know what I mean? Because I ain't even nowhere near like Jesus yet, and he said he wasn't even good in the term good. Said so, yeah. If you think you're good enough, you're a good enough person, and God's a loving enough God that you'll be okay. Well, you might want to rethink that, and that's what's taught in a lot of churches. You know, say the magic words and be as good as you can be, and everything will be all right. Well, that's unfortunately a lie straight from hell because we can't be good. He tells us there's no good in us. Without the Spirit, again, without the Spirit, forget it. You ain't even in the game. You have no hope of even getting to first base in this game if you ain't got the Spirit. You ain't even playing. You might think you are, but you ain't even in the running, man. You ain't even started. So you're done. You're done before you even get in the race because you think you're good enough. And that's the same thing he was basically teaching to the rich man. Because he said about the commandments. And the rich man said, oh, I did all that. I'm good. See? I'm good. I did all the commandments. I ain't broken no commandments. I'm a good guy. So Jesus says, all right, well, then sell everything. Oh, well, now I don't know if I want to do that. You can't be good enough to make it. Period. That's just a
Right.
lie.
You can't follow two masters either.
Right. You can't earn your way. You can't. There's no way to do it through physical stuff. You can't earn it. You can't be good enough. You can't be faithful enough. You can't be devoted enough. You can't read enough. You can't preach enough. You can't pray enough. You can't quote scripture enough. Ain't none of that stuff gonna get you anywhere close to the kingdom of heaven. There's only one way. That's Jesus Christ. And like I said, until you realize that, until you realize you can't do it, period, you're never going to realize how much you need him. Ties right back into that. See, that's the problem. We all think, well, we're not that bad. I ain't raped a baby, at least. That's pretty good, you know. No, but
Yeah,
I bet you
that's
stole a
really
paper
bad.
clip or a pen.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well have raped a baby. It's all sin. It's what people don't like to reconcile in their head. They
Right.
don't want to think of themselves on the term of that baby raper, but you are. You, he's no worse than you. What he did might be considered worse by our society, and I definitely consider it worse in my
Yes.
mind. But to a pure, holy
Well,
God, that's the first thing we got to comprehend. Father is holy, 100% holy. So, now my phone's ringing.
uh oh.
Yeah, whatever. It's my daughter. She messaged to tell me she went somewhere.
Ah, okay.
Okay, have a good time.
Well, let me just interject here just for 1 second, because that's where our mindset is in this world, and the worldly goods, as I put it earlier, is like I used to think the same way. I used to think that, okay, so you steal a loaf of bread to feed your family. Well, that's a sin, but it's still not as bad as murdering somebody. And then you would think you would try to justify it in your mind, well, I stole a candy bar, but that's still not as bad as raping a baby. You try to justify the sins. Like you try to say to yourself, certainly God will let certain sins go if the good outweighs the bad, or if the bad isn't as bad as what some of the worst
Right.
sins are. And that's how I used to justify things, a lot of things,
That's how
you
90,
know.
99% of the world, that's how they justify things in their mind. Whether they put it on a godly level or not, that's still how they justify things. I'm not as bad as that guy. And like I said, that's because we don't really comprehend what holy is. We, you bet, you got to comprehend that our Father is holy. He cannot live, I don't even know the terms to use, live, associate, be around, sin. They don't go together. They can't be together. It's sort of like a magnet with two opposite ends. You can't push them together, no matter how hard you try. It, they repel. The Father is holy, 100% pure, holy. And believe me, if everyone could have an experience like I did, you would get it. Maybe that's why I get it. Maybe that's the only reason I get it. But I know until we get that, till you realize that that little white lie, even if it was just a little white lie, can't be near him. Not that he don't want it to be, not that he don't love it, not that he won't forgive it. It can't be there. It isn't a matter of want. You see what I'm trying to get at? They can't exist together. Period. He can't. There is no sin in his kingdom. There is none of it. It can't be there. Because he's too holy. That's why we're told we need to be holy, like he was holy. That's what being a warrior is all about, part of it. We're supposed to be talking about being a warrior, and we sort of are. Because part of being a warrior is you better be holy. And again, without the Spirit, forget it. You can't be holy on your own. And even walking out this life, I'm not saying like we achieve holiness, like his holiness, but we're made holy because he's holy. Like I said, this stuff is so hard to talk about without people. If you haven't experienced it, it's like trying to put a color into words or a sound into words. There's no words to describe this stuff. But we have to realize we're holy because he's holy. We tend to forget, like you said, we know we're going to slip, we're human, we sin, we can't help it. Then why did Jesus tell them to sin no more? We don't like to talk about that stuff. We don't like to talk about that every time Jesus healed someone, most of the time, the next thing we'd say to him, go your way and sin no more. It wasn't a suggestion. In fact, the one dude, he said, go your way and sin no more, lest something worse happens. So this wasn't a suggestion, like we like to think of in our modern Christianity. Like try. This wasn't a try not to sin anymore type situation, Jesus was saying. This wasn't a suggestion. This was a command. Jesus had commandments. We don't talk about them. We want to revert back to stuff written down on stone, which is death. No, I'm talking about Jesus' commandments, the ones he told us If you love me, you will obey my commandments. He didn't say Moses' commandments. He said my commandments. He had commandments,
Yeah,
lots of them.
even the Pharisees and even the other people, they misconstrued that. A lot of stuff that he said, they would throw Abraham back at him, like, are
Yeah.
the laws of Moses. They'd
Yep.
say this isn't in the laws of Moses. What are you talking about? You know. I'll let you talk about Abraham. I'm going on mute.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to talk about Abraham. I forget where he's going now. Hold on. Let me see. What the hell was it? What was I talking about? Uh,
Jesus' commandments.
yeah, I know.
Oh,
I don't know. It's gone now. But yeah, what else you want to talk about? Oh no, that's gone now. We're talking
oh
about
man,
being a warrior in his kingdom.
that's right.
Yeah. So first of all, you better know you're at war. Second of all, you better know how to fight the war you're fighting. We talked about that so far.
You know, you what you talk about sometimes, and I listen sometimes, believe it or not, um, is the spiritual warfare. The spiritual warfare, what's going on. When people hear about war, they think of a sense of a physical war, like people, running up to each other and stabbing each other with knives and swords and shooting each other, and all that stuff. But really, spiritual warfare to me is the fight over our souls. Like our souls are up for grabs, like are up for stake, and the kingdom of heaven is up for grabs, and it's up for stake. And but of course, I know the Father's going to defeat Satan at the end. Well, Satan or the devil, whatever you want to call the enemy, the head enemy, whoever that is. It's like, and at this time, the head enemy is like getting soldiers for his side, and he's deceiving people. Not just deceiving people. He not only is he getting people that are like really bad, like I'm talking about, like Charles Manson bad, but he's also getting people who call themselves Christians to believe in things that are not are that Jesus never talked about, or that Jesus never said follow this or follow that. He said, "Follow me, and I'm the way to the Father. I'll lead you to the Father." However, with that being said, and I'm not trying to do Sadji's voice right there, by the way. But with that being said, you know, the enemy's trying to get his legion of warriors, and without even knowing it, we're actually leaning a lot of us. I'm not saying us like you and me, us, or like anybody else, us, but I mean a lot of people are joining the enemy's legion of warriors without even without even realize it. Unless you're a follower of Jesus, and you're unless you're a follower of Jesus, you're on the wrong side of the war. Is what I'm trying to say. I know I didn't say it very well, but there you go. I said it. I'll let you take the ball and run with it, sir.
Well, the enemy's definitely recruiting his warriors. There's no doubt about that. And there's lots of people who are happy to be his warriors. I was at one time. I literally was a warrior. I fought for him. I went against churches. I did what we did. We, it ain't. They don't play, and that's another thing. Believe me, the enemies, yeah, they're way more organized than us born again people. That these so-called Christians, like I said, they're not even at war, so they ain't even in the battle. The enemy's in the battle. He's got real warriors. He's got real people that go against churches and hurt children and go against communities and go against governments and go against territories. It's all real. They will call forth demons and put them over your town, and you'll wonder why your town has such a dark thing. They wonder why Chicago is the way it is, with so much murder and so much evilness, and just it's because there's real demons in control of it, over it all. running everything because they've been called forth and nothing stopped them. The church ain't doing anything for the most part. There's
You know,
very few people doing anything to combat the enemy, and the
that's
enemy's
true.
hard at it. He don't sleep, he
Oh,
don't slow down, he don't stop. He's constantly 24/7, 365. The enemy's minions are doing stuff
you know
happily.
what, Armor? I don't want to interrupt you there, but when you said that about the enemy being in charge of all of the council members and all the mayors and the government and all that stuff, it kind of reminded me of Devil's Advocate, where it's actually the devil who is the head lawyer guy, and he's in charge of all that stuff, and he has minions um, who run the law firm. I just wanted to throw that in
Well,
there.
yeah, but I'm not even talking on the physical level. I'm not
Right.
saying there's a demon in government in Chicago and that's why the way it is. Although that's more than likely true by now, because I'm saying we're talking spiritual here. They see, most people don't even know how the enemy does what he does. People don't even comprehend this war. Maybe luckily because I was on the other side and see how he works, it helped me get it better. I don't know, but I'm talking spiritual. They literally do rituals, and to do this, it involves blood sacrifices, and they can put principalities. That's why it says principalities in the Ephesians and powers and all that. That's the words they're using. That's what it's talking about. They can put a legion of demons over a territory that it ain't like the judge got to be a Satanist or the cops have to be bad or any of that. The area itself is bad. It can affect the area. Without people coming against it, they're trapped in it. Like I said, I can't explain this stuff. But that's why I brought up Chicago. I think Chicago is a prime example. I don't know. I ain't been to Chicago. But I know how the enemy operates. Chicago definitely looks like something that's run by the enemy, spiritually. It's constant death, constant murder, crimes. That's an enemy territory. Not that the people involved in it are necessarily doing it. They don't got a choice. These powers are powerful. So unless they're coming against it, they're puppets to it. You understand? Some are willingly doing it, no doubt. Our documentary was about people that willingly give over to the enemy. That happens. But I'm saying you don't have to willingly give yourself over to be affected by what the enemy's doing. Because if you're not battling against it, you're affected by it. That's why that baby died at 1 hour old, maybe. That's why that child got shot in the street. That's why crime is up. That's why that old lady's pension got stolen. You see what I'm saying? It's all because of the demonic control of the area. It's real. And I guarantee you, the enemy can take out a church. There's so many churches that got the enemy in there preaching. I'm not talking about necessarily the main preacher or the enemy running the child frigging Sunday school or the enemy taking the offering. The enemy is in the church buildings. I'll guarantee you that much. Unless that church is a warfare church that knows what's going on and praying against it, the enemy's in that church, and that's why that church has what it has. That's why church ain't supposed to be in a building. Father knew all this stuff. That's why I say there isn't a good church out there, because I don't think there is. Show me a church that's doing warfare constantly for its ground, and then I'll say, aha, now there's a church to go to. But I don't know of any. I ain't been all over the place, so I can't speak for the world, but I'll guarantee you I've traveled a lot, and I've been to a lot of church buildings, and there ain't nobody. They're not even claiming their territory. That's what I mean. You better claim your territory. That's what it's meant by until you bound the strong man, how you ever going to take over the house? Most people ain't even claimed their house. And they're wondering why stuff's constantly going on. You got to claim your territory. You got to kick the enemy out, because if you don't, he's there. Period. I don't care. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. If you haven't taken control of your area, well, then the enemy's right beside you. He's constantly going to be messing with you. And like I said, I constantly get messed with. It ain't like it ends, but it ends in your home. You see what I'm saying? It ends, you can make your community better. That's why I constantly say to pray. Let's get back into what it means to be a warrior. How do we war? This is how we war. We don't war with weapons. We don't war with physical things. We don't war for physical things. We war a few ways. One of our main weapons is prayer. We come against the enemy. We got to realize it's real. Because until you realize it's real, you're just praying nonsense prayers anyway. You're probably asking for stuff for yourself.
Right. Yep.
You probably ain't praying anything important anyhow. And Father, don't play that stuff.
I
He ain't a
always,
slot machine.
yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, people do that a lot of times. They'll pray to him for, like you said earlier on in the program, a new car or um, a new wife, or like a 40,000 or $40 million home or something like that. And the thing is, I always pray for the strength of the Father. Not always. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those guys, but I do pray for the strength of the Father, and I do pray for my salvation, and I do pray for other people. Like if someone needs to be healed, like my friend who was in a diabetic coma, by the way, they didn't think he was going to live. They thought he had no chance. But a lot of people prayed for him, and guess what, man? He come out of that coma. He's getting ready to go back home. He does need some physical therapy because he was in that coma for a while. He's not walking just yet, but he's home. He's doing okay. He's hanging in there. He's alive and well, and so I do believe that our prayers do get answered, and I do believe the Father does give us some strength to do the things that we need to do to fight. And this all goes back to how to be a warrior and how to fight the enemy. He does give us the strength to fight the enemy, but he's not going to give us what we don't. I'm not going to say he doesn't give us what we don't ask for, because he does that all the time too. But I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like in a spiritual battle, if you pray to the Father, as you're saying, and ask for his strength, he'll give us that strength. He'll help us fight the enemy, because there's no way that we can fight a spiritual battle against the enemy alone. It's always the Father who's behind us if we truly ask for it. That's my 2 cents worth, dude. Oh, one more thing before I hand the mic back to you. You were talking about churches earlier, and I've got to tell you, my church is when you have your Wednesday words, and you put that guy on. What's his name? The guy with the long hair, and he looks like he's always wearing a shirt that's too small for him.
I always have different people on, but the last series was Bruxy.
Yeah, I like that guy, man. He's awesome, because he talks the way you and I would talk. Like the conversation we're having right now is like, he's down to earth. You know what I mean? He's not like high on his pedestal like most of your ministers and preachers and rabbis are. He doesn't talk in a way that's Greek. You know what I mean? He's down on our level, so to speak. But that's the kind of church I would love to go to. I would love to go to a church and listen to that dude, as opposed to listening to most of the ministers that are indoctrinated with lies and stuff like that. And like you said earlier, not exactly what you said. I'm paraphrasing here, but here, I'll pass the mic back on to you now and let you comment on what I just said. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what to comment on. I basically said all that about the churches, yeah. Yeah, Bruxy's cool. I mean, there are good preachers out there. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, and of course he puts himself on our level because, again, if you're truly born again, you, like I said, how could I be a pot calling a kettle black? Why would I condemn anyone? I've done worse than most of the people I talk to have done. But again, there's no scale, so to say that's sort of because a white lie is as bad as raping a baby. We talked about that, but I've done a lot of bad things. I willingly worked for the enemy. Most of the people have different, they haven't actively worked for the enemy. So in my eyes, I might have been a little worse, although I realize I ain't. So sort of a circular talk there. But yeah, I mean, because pride's gone. That's basically what I'm saying. If Bruxy was up there, and that's what's wrong with most of your preachers or your priests or your pride is one of our biggest enemies. If you think you're better than anyone, well, get out of my foxhole. You can't fight with me. On my side, I mean, not fight with me against me. I'm talking, you can't, we're not partners. We can't fight together. You're coming from the enemy's camp. You snuck in, you sound good, you look good. But look at your pride. And it's a rampant thing on YouTube. That's why, man, there's so many channels on YouTube. Channels I used to support, channels I helped, channels I used to associate with, different groups, different people. And you just see the pride. They just fall into the trap of the pride, man. And they start, and a lot of them will say about how humble they are. But again, I guess it's discernment. You need discernment. But
That's
you
kind
can
of
realize when they're saying how humble they are that it's pure
yeah.
pride making them say that.
saying how humble you are about having no pride is like saying uh, how how handsome you are, but yet saying, "Oh, I'm not handsome at all," or something. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. It was just I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's like double talk, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what? Pride is one of our worst enemies. It really is, and that gets in the way of a lot of stuff. It's like even when you're trying to talk the good word, like when you're trying to talk about Jesus, like I can't go down the street or even within the walls of my own family and start talking about Jesus and the good things that he did without feeling just a little bit of embarrassment. And that embarrassment comes with pride because you know how these people think, and you know that they're going to turn against you as soon as you start teaching something that's slightly different than what they were taught. And they all just kind of stare at you like you got a third eye once you start mentioning it. I'm not saying I don't mention it because I do. I bring it up all the time. Some of the stuff that I've learned outside of sorry, doctrination, I do. But I can't. I got to admit that when I do, I know I'm going to get the hate. I know I'm going to get the bad stares, and I know I'm going to get embarrassed. And that really is all a part of pride. Because if you didn't have that pride and you washed that pride off to the side of the road somewhere and said, "Okay, now I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to talk about Jesus because it is what I believe in and it is the truth that I believe to be my truth." But you can't just say my truth because it's not just your truth. It is what it is. It is the truth. But let me ask you. Let me stop myself here before I get too deep. Let me ask you something. Have you gone out into the world besides being on YouTube and doing all your stuff that you do on YouTube? Have you actually gone out into the world and experienced firsthand, sort of like, I don't know how to say this, sort of like not preaching, but sort of like trying to tell people the truth outside of just YouTube? Like, have you ever run into a guy on the street and said, "Hey, man, you know what?" You know, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always the spirit leads you. I mean, I haven't sat down and had half hour, an hour discussion with someone on the street, but I've talked about Jesus to different people. I mean, you got to, again, it comes back into, see, we're all called different ways, but you got to listen to the Spirit. I mean, it ain't like I go out on the street to preach because Father hasn't called me to the street to preach. For some reason, he called me to this stupid YouTube, which I never even knew about before all this happened. So, but there has been times when I'm out that Father has put on my heart things. Well, here's an example. When I used to deliver in D.C., I'm out at like early in the morning, and I stop at the one market to drop off the produce, and of course the market ain't open yet, but they're in there, but the doors are locked. So I take in my produce, and I come out, and this girl comes up to the door, and she's trying to get in. And I said, "Oh, they're not open yet." I said, I think they open whatever time it was. I'm not sure. I said, "But they're not open yet." And she started almost crying, you know. And my partner, he's loading the carts in the truck, and I'm walking back to get in the truck. And I realized she started getting like upset and crying. I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Man, I've been here like 2 times now, trying to get a job, and I need hired." And then she starts telling me just about how bad everything's going. She's needs a job, and nothing's working out, and now this place ain't open, and she don't know, and she just, breaking down about what's happening in her life. And I said, "Look," I said, "it'll be all right." I said, "Man," I said, "Jesus loves you, so nothing else really matters, does it?" And she stopped, and she looked at me, and she goes, "Thank you." She goes, "That means so much to me. You have a great day." And I got in the truck and I left. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
man.
did I street preach to some? I mean, I said what the Spirit led me to say at that moment in time, and it seemed to affect this young lady's day. You know what I mean?
That
So I
makes
would consider that talking to someone on the street about Jesus. Another time I stopped, I go into Burger King, I think it was, I had stopped at one of the restaurants on my journey in the truck. I pulled in, I go in to get a burger. I had on my Prayer Just Do It shirt. I have a shirt that says Prayer Just Do It with a little Nike thing under it. It's a play off of Just Do It, you know. It says Prayer Just Do It. I had that shirt on. And I'm standing in Burger King, and the girl took my order, and she messed my order up like so bad, so many times. So I was patient with her, and it's like, "No, I want this," and. So about the third time she's trying to get my order in the cash register, I see the manager guy come over, and he says, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, nothing." I said, He said, "She's new here." I said, "It's cool, man." I said, "Basically, all I want is this burger, and some fries, and a shake." Okay, and we got it all in. I guess he was expecting someone to get upset, probably why he come over. And he goes, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Dude, it's cool. It's all right." I said, "It's no big deal." I said, "Don't worry about it. She did good. It ain't like there's a line or anything. It's okay." And then he looked at my shirt and he says, "Oh, Prayer Just Do It," with the Nike symbol. He said, "That's awesome." He said, "Do you realize who Nike was?" I said, "Oh, yeah, Nike, God of War." He said, "Yeah." He said, "So that's sort of a play on an evil god saying." I said, "Yeah, exactly. You get it." I said, "You'd probably like our channels that I'm on because we talk about this kind of stuff." I said, "But yeah, this is a snap. It's basically a slap in the face of the enemy, this shirt, for
Yeah.
anyone that would have the eyes to see it. Because you're taking an evil thing. Like I said, Father loves taking evil and making it good. He loves it. Does it all the time. I don't know why people can't see it. He does it all the time. So this shirt is sort of a symbol of that. He goes, "Wow, that's like reverse psychology, Nike, the god of war, and saying, go to war with prayer, just do it." I said, "You got it, dude." I said, "You're the first dude ever
Oh,
that looked at
wow.
this shirt and understood what this shirt meant." I said, "My mind's blown." I said, "You ought to check out our channel." And I give him, I think back at the time I was on Dan's channel and my
That's
channel. I don't
cool.
think we was doing anything yet then, but And that was another time that, just, I mean, I didn't preach to him about Jesus. He knew where I was coming from. He understood the message of, you know, turn evil back on itself.
Mhm.
It's what we do. It's what the Father does. It's what we're called. That's how we war. That's what the war is all about.
And I think the Spirit sometimes leads us to people like people that really need to hear the message at the time they need to hear the message. That's where He leads us to at the time. Because I've had situations somewhat similar to that, what you're talking about, happen to me. Like I'd be out and about taking care of my business somewhere, and somebody I don't know why, but the words would just fly out of my mouth to someone who seemed like they really needed to hear them at that time. And you got me thinking about the whole YouTube thing. And I know that God uses whatever is out there, whatever technology that man had created, He uses that to get His word out. And He knew that if He told you to go on YouTube and spread His word, that more people would be reached through YouTube, because that's that was the popular thing that was going on at the time, that more people would be reached through YouTube than you just going out and about your day, like about town, and trying to get the message across. You know what I'm saying? Like He uses
Oh
all
yeah,
kinds.
he
Yeah.
knows way more than I do, no doubt about it. Like I said, I never wanted to do YouTube or make videos. You just got to be willing to follow the Spirit. That's what it comes down to. That's the main thing of our warfare. First thing, you better know your war. Then you better know how to war, which I started getting into and got sidetracked there. And then you better have the Spirit. Like I said, you need the Spirit. You got to follow the Spirit. You got to listen to the Spirit. The Spirit's constantly guiding us. Problem is, we don't listen. We're too busy with whatever in life. The enemy uses anything he can to distract us from listening. Just like that incident at the store. And I just remembered I did do a little prayer with her too. That's right. And then I told her that she told me have a great day and thanks. I did a little prayer with her. But I could have ignored the Spirit. I could have been I'm on a route. I'm on a time schedule. I'm delivering. My buddy's loading the back of the truck so we can get rolling, throwing the carts back in, shutting the door, you know what I mean? I normally don't stop. I go. That's why people like me when I deliver, because I don't mess around. I get it done. I, I don't dally. But instead of hopping in the truck like I normally would do, the Spirit said, look. And I looked. You know what I mean? There's no reason for me to look back to the door. I don't normally look back at the door. You know what I mean? We were ready to go. I was in the back of the truck. My buddy put the carts in. We shut the door. I was walking around to get in the front of the truck, and the Spirit said, look. So I looked, and there was this girl. So the Spirit said, help her. I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? So I walked over and said, what's up? She goes, oh, I'm trying to get in for an appointment. And I was like, well, they're closed. They're not open. Like I said, the story I just said. I said, they're not open yet. They're open in an hour. And she just broke down. She was like, I can't take it anymore. Nothing. So, I said, look, Jesus loves you. Nothing else is really more important than that. And like I said, I did a little prayer with her. I said, He's got you. If you don't get this job, you weren't meant to have it. That's basically what the prayer was. Lead her to the job she's meant to have. Help her trust in. It's just a little prayer. And then she was like, wow, thank you. That means so much. It was 3 minutes. You know what I mean? But you can change someone's life, at least for that moment, for them few hours maybe, or that day. She remembered Jesus. She remembered that He loved her. She remembered that the job wasn't as important as that, although it was important. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. It ain't about going out there and saying you're gay, you're going to hell, repent now. That's not what it's about. That's not how Jesus did it. I don't recall Jesus ever going up to anyone and say, other than the Sadducees and Pharisees, and that's a whole different subject and a whole different level of warfare. But your average normal person on the street and saying, hey, you're a whore, stop it, you're going to go to hell. No, the woman came to the well, started talking to him, and he says, well, go get your husband, He had her admit her sin. He explained to her sin was forgiven. He told her about herself. You know what I mean? He didn't condemn her. He convicted her without ever bringing it up. He convicted her by having her admit what she was doing. That's what it's all about. It ain't about going out there and saying, you're wrong. You're going to hell. No, it's about telling them the truth, getting them wanting to know more. Letting the Spirit will take care of the fact that they need to quit doing what they're doing. That ain't our job. Our job is to get them to realize how much they need Jesus and the Spirit. Once they get the Spirit, that's when they get fixed. We ain't here to fix. I ain't here to fix anybody and bring them to Jesus. I'm here to bring them to Jesus. He'll fix them. He fixed me. He's the one that fixes stuff. We don't save anyone. We don't fix anyone. We don't do any of that. That all leads right back to pride and leads right back to boasting. There ain't nothing. There is no reason any man can boast. We can't boast. If we lead someone to Christ, we don't boast because we didn't do it. I didn't lead that girl to a good day. None of that was me. I was the body that was there and the mouth that was talking. That wasn't me. I would have been in the truck and heading to the next stop. That's what I would have done. That was me. But no, the Spirit said, stop, do this. So I stopped and did that. It was the Spirit. I can't boast. It ain't nothing about me other than my willingness to listen to the Spirit. That's the only thing I did in that situation. I didn't decide what to say. I didn't think about what to pray. I didn't do anything but first look because it said to look, and then helped because it said to help. Although I had no clue what that help was. Till it happened. So no man can boast. It isn't us. It's never us. We don't lead anyone to Christ. We don't save anyone from their sins. We don't clean anybody up. But we can help them. We can be used to do that. But it ain't us. It's the Spirit. The minute you think it's you, now you're boasting, now you're pride, now you're done. Now the Spirit's out of here. Might be a fake one still hanging around to keep you on your lost track. But the minute you think it's you, get away from me. Because now you're the enemy. Now I'm going to have to call out and point out your pride. Not against you, but against that spirit of pride that just grabbed you and is about to take you down the wrong road. Again, back to condemnation versus conviction. Now I'm going to have to convict you of what you're doing. But I ain't going to condemn you for doing it. I've done the same thing. But I better convict you, because if I don't, then I ain't loving you. Because if I love you, I'm not going to let you get swallowed up in your pride. If I love you, I'm not going to let you continue to teach your false doctrine without pointing out your false doctrine. That's where it gets twisted. And when you do that, the first thing they say is you're not being loving and you're being judgmental. And you're mighty prideful because you think you know it all. That's exactly what I hear every time I try to point out a false doctrine or something. And I'm used to it because that's exactly what the enemy would say. It's exactly what Jesus said they would say. But it isn't that. It's true love. That's what love is. Love is telling you you're going down the wrong path. Love is warning people that this can lead you astray. That's what love is. And that ties into the warrior Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus was loving.
You know,
Jesus is forgiving. Jesus is peace. But you better understand them terms on Jesus' level and not the worldly one.
Right. No, it's kind of like when you have a child and you want to protect that child the best that your ability, and when it does something that you know it's going to get hurt, you correct that child. You do it in a way that's not mean. You do it in a way that's like, like you might reprimand that child or whatever, and you, in a stern way. You know what I'm saying? And that's just like you're showing, you love that child. You don't want that child to get hurt. You don't want that child to turn into a degenerate whatever. So when you're correcting your child, you're doing it out of love because you don't want to see them get hurt. In the same way, Jesus doesn't want to see us perish. So he's going to correct. He's going to correct you. He's going to correct people down. He's going to the send people to what exactly you said, and I don't know why I'm saying this all nervous. Like I guess I had too much Coke or something. I mean the soda, and but no, seriously, man. I mean, you know, that's I'm using mixed metaphors here, but I think I know. I think I'm on the right track. No,
Yeah, I think so. I don't quite get everything you just said there. It was sort of jumbled up, but
but Jesus is love. Like everyone talks about loving Jesus and stuff, and he's a loving Jesus, but not in the way people think. People think that love means that he's all like I don't know how to explain it, like a hippie or something like that, But as I said in the beginning, but he does love, and that's what, like you said, that's why he corrects, he punishes in a way. I don't mean like punish, but I mean like he is stern, and that's the true love is sternness.
well, true
Um,
love is truth. You don't
right.
deviate ever. The truth is the truth. Jesus was the walking truth. So when you yeah, so the truth will point out your lies. The truth will rebuke you. The truth will reprove you. But it does it all out of love because it wants you to come to the truth. That's why people, like I said, people will say, "Oh, well, you're pretty prideful. You're pretty stuck in your ways. You think you know everything." No, but I know the truth. I know the truth I've been showed. Once the Spirit shows me something is the truth, then I don't deviate from that. Unfortunately, people consider that prideful if you won't deviate from that. But that's just the way the world looks at it. It's far from pride. I know I'm nothing. Like I said, there is no pride in me. I know I have done none of this. Not a single video, not a single live show, not talking to anyone on the street, none of it. I was just there. So pride has nothing to do with it, although that's the first thing they see. Oh, well, you're prideful. No, I'm bold. Because to get back to warfare and to get back to our weapons, as I started to say, prayer is a big one. Prayer is number one. Prayer is our biggest, most powerful, most important weapon as far as overall, as a mass effect. Our weapon of mass destruction, if you will. That's prayer. We come against it all. Come against the evil, come against the child abusers, come whatever. Whatever you're called to pray against, you pray against. You come against sickness in your friends, you come against whatever. Whatever's asked for in the room. When I pray for my family, hedges of protection, that type of thing. I pray for whoever has asked me for prayers in the chat. Whatever that situation is, I pray for that. I pray for them, their families. I pray for children and all the things that goes on with them. I pray for the people who are coming against me and the people who are outright lost so that they can see the light. Just like I end my videos shortly with, pray for this, pray for that. That's what I pray for. That's what we pray for. I'll pray like before a show or before I do a video. I pray for the Father to use my mouth, use my tongue. Don't let me be me. Don't let me mess this up. Let me express as much as I can in my human stupid terms that we got the message you want me to get out. I'll pray that.
That's what I should do instead of getting all my words twisted.
It don't matter that people still twist your words.
Right. Yeah. But I mean,
I'm still constantly twisted, and I say, yeah. But at least I know I didn't. You know what I mean? I know I'm speaking for the Father. But yeah, they'll still twist it. Don't think that's going to stop anything. It might help you from messing up
Right.
yourself, but they're still going to say you're twisting stuff and messing stuff up. Yeah,
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
just don't get it. They don't want to hear it. I'm glad to see someone talked in chat finally. I was wondering if anyone was even
Ooh.
here anymore.
Yeah, I know. I see four
I
people
bored
are.
everybody. They're gone.
Mhm.
But yeah, back to the
No,
weapons. So we got
oh, no,
prayer.
you didn't. You didn't
Pra-
bore anybody, I don't think.
Prayer's our mass destructive weapon. That's it. That's the biggie. That's what you use to come against the principalities, the powers, the big stuff.
And what's the smaller weapons like? Say, for an example, arrows and guns and stuff like that. What are those kind of weapons in terms of spiritual
Well,
weapons?
that's what I was getting into.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Prayers are big weapon. That's the mass destruction weapon. That weapon. Prayers of a righteous man availeth much. There ain't nothing can stop true prayers. Got to be true prayers. Got to be real prayers. Got to be coming from a true born again son or daughter of God. And there ain't nothing stopping it. Our next weapon that we're taught about is, well, there's two sort of go together. And these are your two more personal type weapons, more instant weapons, up close weapons. And that's the sword, which is the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. And at the end of Ephesians, it's to speak boldly as we ought to speak. That's our daily, everyday, walk around, have it ready at all times weapon. So when the enemy comes against you with this lie, or with that lie, or with this lie, just like Jesus in the Bible when he was tempted, and the enemy said, why don't you just turn this rock to bread and eat? You know you're hungry. And he said, it is written. He pulled the sword out. He got out his sword. He said, it is written. Man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that comes out of the mouth of God. That's the sword. That's the weapon. He spoke boldly. He declared the word. So that's, to be a warrior, you better be willing to speak boldly. And you better be willing to get crucified the minute you do, because people get triggered. When you speak boldly, and when you don't compromise the truth, and you stand by it boldly and speak it right at their face, they don't like it. They get offensive. The enemy does not like when you speak the truth boldly, because he knows he can't stop you. He knows there's nothing he can do. Just like the devil. He might move on to another trick, like the devil did, Satan did with Jesus. Oh, well then throw yourself off the high mountain, because, it says he ain't going to let you hurt your foot. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. It is written, Jesus said. Again, he pulls the sword out. You shall not tempt the Lord your God. Boldly. Satan was done. The battle's over. You see what I'm saying? He moves to another tactic, but that battle, it's done. Gone. Pulled the sword out, cut it down. It's over. No more arguing. It wasn't an argument, wasn't a debate. Jesus didn't debate whether to turn the rock to bread. They didn't debate on the fact that he could do it. They didn't debate. No, it's written. Man don't live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. Boom, done. See ya. Next. That's the way you warfare. That's what it's all about. It ain't they try to stretch it out and make it seem like it's harder than it is. No. If the devil's coming at you with a lie, you're not good enough. Boom. He says, I am righteous because he is righteous. He says, I am holy because he is holy. He said, I am worth more than the birds and the flowers. And he says all this stuff about me. He says how worthy I am. What do you mean I ain't worthy? Get behind me. What are you talking about? I'm more worthy than you even realize. See what I mean? It's a sword. It's the word. It's done. But you got to believe it. You got to have it in your heart. You got to know how to use the sword. You can't just pull it out, open up a Bible, and try to find a verse. And no, you better know. You got to know the word. That's why it says you write it in your heart. I ain't carrying no Bible around with me. I didn't have a Bible when I seen that girl. I didn't have a Bible when I seen that dude in the Burger King. I didn't have a Bible. I got them here, but I don't have a Bible open in front of me when I'm doing these shows. I don't have a Bible open in front of me when I'm doing my videos, unless, of course, I'm doing a Bible reading. No, the Word's here. And what ain't here, I know the Spirit's going to give me. He says He's going to tell you whatever you need to say, whenever you need to say it, and He'll never lead you to anything but the truth. So I ain't even worried about making sure I got it all, because I know I don't. I'm a human being. I can't rattle off scriptures like a lot of these heathens do. I can't tell you this scripture says this, but I don't care. I know if I need that scripture, He's going to bring it to me. He might not tell me, quote John 4:4, boy, quote John 4:4. No, He might say, tell him, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. I have no clue where that's at in the scriptures. I think Isaiah maybe. I don't know, but that's the point. Doesn't matter where it is in the book they wrote, what number and chapter and verse. That's man's pride again, saying, look, I know the number and chapter and verse. Ain't I a holy fellow? Yeah, but you don't even get the meaning. So you ain't worth anything in this war. It ain't a matter of knowing where exactly everything is, but you better know what's in there. It better be in your heart. You better be able to, Spirit better be able to, you better be able to listen to the Spirit so it can bring to your remembrance what you need to remember at that moment in time. That's what it's all about. We don't worry about memorizing Scripture like a lot of people do, because that just makes you look good in front of man. Oh, you can quote a lot of stuff. Awesome. Aren't you great? You might as well memorize the Lord of the Rings or something else and quote it like a lot of people do. There's lots of people who can quote a movie. That don't make them special. So you can retain knowledge of something, or you can at least retain what you read. Do you even understand it? I don't think so, or you wouldn't be so worried about getting the chapter and verse right. You'd be more worried about what it said. It don't matter what the chapter and verse is. It's what it says. That's what's important. Man made the numbers. Man made the chapters. Man made the verses. Man did all that stuff. None of that means anything. It's the message. That's what's important. You better know how to quote what needs to be quoted the minute it needs to be quoted. That's the sword. It's the sword of the Spirit. That's our instant weapon.
Cool.
That'll stop the attack of an enemy dead in his tracks. Every time. The minute he comes against you with your lie in your head, shoot it down. Pull out the sword, take the word, and show him why he's a liar. Because he knows he's a liar. You just got to make sure you know he's a liar. And the only way to prove you know he's a liar, say, well, look, I know you're lying. And God said this. I believe this, so you're a liar. So get out of here with your I'm not good enough. Get out of here with your I'll always be addicted. Get out of here with your I'm a sinner and I'm never going to be saved. Get away from me with your nonsense. Yeah. Your nonsense means nothing. Here's the truth. So you got to know the truth. So again, we're talking about being a warrior. First, you got to realize there's a war. Then you better realize how you war. Then you better realize what your weapons are, which are prayer and truth. Period.
Nice.
Then you better know what your armor is. Because without your armor, the enemy's going to put a hurting on you too.
I was
you
just
better make sure
about that.
you keep your armor on.
Mm-hmm.
And sword, of course, is part of the armor, but it's also the weapon. That's why we get it. So your armor, let's see if I can remember them all. First, of course, we got to, well, not necessarily first in the scriptures. Again, might not be first in the scriptures, but we'll go the way I got them in my head, in my heart.
I go accordingly to how like the top of your body to the bottom of your body. That's how I go accordingly. But like the helmet, you start with the helmet and then you would go downward. I would think. I don't know. I don't know anything about
that. Ain't how I do it, but it don't matter how you do it, as long as you know what it is.
Right.
Again, it's man that makes you think, oh, you got it out of order. Shit. That's enemy stupid stuff. So I'm not necessarily, like I said, I don't know if I'm going in the order it's written in Ephesians, but I'm going to go through the armor in my heart. So you got a belt of truth. Personally, I think that's where it all starts. So you got a belt of truth. Means you better know the truth. The belt holds it all together. Without truth, there's gaps in that armor. It's all held in place by truth. You need the belt of truth. Okay? So that's one piece of armor. Got to know the truth, which means you've got to know the Word. Because the Word, you got to know Jesus. What Jesus say? I am the way, the truth, and the life. So you got to know Jesus. Till you get into a personal relationship with Jesus, you can't even start putting armor on because you have no truth. So you ain't got no belt. So you better make sure you know truth, which means you better make sure you know Jesus. And then you got a helmet of salvation. I think that's a next important part, because until you become fixed in your mind that you are saved and that Jesus has saved you, then the enemy can sneak in thoughts of, you're not good enough, you're still a sinner, you slipped up yesterday, oh, look at what you did over there, oh, look at this, you call yourself a Christian, oh, you think you follow Jesus, and look what you just did, oh, look how you yelled at that. See what I'm saying? No, you better get your mind fixed on your salvation. You are saved. You better keep your mind fixed on that. That's what the helmet of salvation's for. That's why it's a helmet, because it's about your thoughts, your mind, your head. You better stay fixated on the fact that
Take
you're
every
saved.
thought captive, right?
Yep. Every thought captive. Because the enemy's constantly going to tell you, you're not good enough, you failed, you slipped, you're not saved. No, I'm saved. I have the helmet of salvation. Now again, I'm not even getting into once saved, always saved, or any of that kind of stuff. Because that gets a whole different subject and a whole different direction. But I'm just saying, when you're born again, when you're filled with the Spirit, your mind knows that you are saved. Nothing can take you from Him. Again, I'm not saying you can't walk away. I'm not saying you can't lose it. I'm just saying, if you keep your helmet of salvation on, nothing is going to take you from His salvation. So we got a belt of truth, because we have to know the truth. If we don't know the truth, how are we going to spot the lies? And we got a helmet to make sure we remember whose we are and what He did for us. Where Jesus is, because He saved us. And then we got a breastplate of righteousness. That's so we can remember, no matter what our hearts, no matter how we're trying to be condemned, because the enemy loves to condemn us again. That's what he does. He'll lie, he condemns, he tries to make us feel unworthy, all that stuff. We got a breastplate. We keep our heart on the fact that we're righteous. Not because of us. Nothing we can do to boast about it. Nothing we can do to do it. Nothing we can do to earn it. But because of Him, we've been given a breastplate. We are righteous in His eyes because He is righteous. We got to get that in our heart. You got to believe that. No matter what's happening in your life, no matter how many times you slip, no matter what happens, remember that your righteousness is because He's righteous. So don't forget your breastplate of righteousness. Keep your heart still and joy and peace on the fact that as long as you're following Him, as long as you're obeying Him, as long as you're following the Spirit, listening to the Spirit, even when you slip and fall and the trials come and the enemy attacks and the lies flow, just remember, you're saved. You got your helmet and you're righteous because you got your breastplate. Then we got the belt of truth. We got us a helmet of salvation. We got us a breastplate of righteousness. We got shoes for the gospel of peace. Because that's what our gospel is all about, and that's what this warfare is all about. It ain't a warfare like we think of warfare. Oh, it's a battle. It's a struggle. It's a fight. But it's a fight for peace. We're trying to save people and bring them home. Bring them to the kingdom. It's peace.
You know that ties into what Jesus once said. I believe He said this, is that He comes here not to bring peace on earth, but to bring the sword. And I think a lot of people misconstrue that scripture. And I'm sure that you have a little bit of insight in that. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. I know I continuously keep doing that, but go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I do want your thoughts on that scripture though.
oh, about the peace, I bring a sword. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, basically, again, you can't take scriptures out of context and put them here or there. But basically, because he did come to bring peace. Our gospel is a gospel of peace. So that confuses some people. But he brings a sword because he's got to separate his kingdom and the worldly kingdom. He's got to show there's a division, which is the whole point of this whole show, basically. This worldly kingdom is nothing. It means nothing to us. We don't fight for it. We don't fight for parts of it. So there's a separation. He brings a sword. You have to separate. You have to be. That's why he says things like, unless you're willing to give up your mother and father and your family and follow me. All these symbologies, all the symbolisms in there. Because it's a sword. He brings a sword. The sword, there you go, like Catherine said, the sword of the Spirit. He brings the truth. He brings the word. And it's going to cause an unpeaceful feeling for those who don't want to hear the truth, for those who don't want to hear the word. Just like every time we speak boldly, just like happened yesterday, just like happens most of the time when I do videos like this or talk about this stuff. You got differences of opinions. So they're not at peace when you're saying what you're saying because you're bringing a sword. You're bringing a sword of the Spirit. You're bringing the word of God. You're bringing it with truth, which is your belt. You see what I'm saying? That's basically what that means. Not meaning he didn't come to bring peace the way it reads. You've got to remember this was written down. This was translated. We can't take everything exactly the way it reads because that can cause confusion. Because he did come to bring peace. That's why our gospel is the gospel of peace. But he knew consequences of what was happening. When he brings the sword, when he brings the truth, it's not going to cause peace for a lot of the world because they don't want to hear it. So that's why he's saying, look, this isn't going to bring peace. I'm not bringing peace to everybody because most people are going to get upset. Pharisees and Sadducees, a prime example of their time. They didn't find this gospel peaceful, although it's a gospel of peace. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I think it means there. He's saying, I don't come to bring peace because he knows this isn't going to bring peace. This is going to bring division because there has to be division. We've got to separate the good from the bad, the evil from the holy. It's got to be done. Well, the ones on that side of the fence don't find peace in the fact that they're evil. You see what I'm saying? The fact that they're being pointed out, look, this ain't good. You've got problems. So that it isn't bringing peace to them. But overall, it's a gospel of peace. I'm at peace. I'm at war constantly. Constantly the enemy's doing what he does. This fella's going to make a video about me. Or this person in the chat's calling me all kind of things. Or this fellow over here sending me emails about how I'm a heretic and I'm going to hell. Or, you know what I mean? It never ends. But I'm at peace. Yeah, once in a while it gets to me. I had to reach out the other day and send a text to a few of my friends, Hebrew, Dan, and I broke down. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can take this anymore. I mean, this ain't worth it. I'm so sick of this. You know? Yeah, I'm human. But 99% of the time, I'm at peace. It don't bother me now. It bothered me that day. Hebrew knows what I'm talking about. But it ain't bothered me since that day.
Oh, yeah.
Brother brought the peace back. I just forgot. I slipped. I stepped out. I slipped. But the peace is back. I don't care. Make your video. Do what you want to do. It don't matter. I'm at peace. Even though the war, and that's what he means. The war may be raging around you, but he gives us a peace that goes beyond comprehension. People can't comprehend how you're at peace. What do you mean you're at peace? This dude just called you this. So, Father didn't say that. So why do I care? I know what Father said. Again, we just pull out the sword. I forgot to pull out the sword that day. My sword was on the shelf. As soon as I remembered, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Give me the sword. Hold on. That's right. You said this was going to happen. You said I was
Right.
going to be. You said all this. Thank you. I'm at peace now. Bring it, enemy. Let's go. So that's basically what I think that verse means. Because he knew, he didn't mean I'm not coming to bring peace. Because he did come to bring peace. But he knew when he brought the sword, the word, the truth, it wasn't going to be peaceful for the enemy and those following him. So yeah, now, where was I? What was we talking about? Oh, the armor. So we got the shoes of peace. We go around spreading the good news as we're led. Again, we ain't supposed to be out there beating people over the head with Jesus. We're supposed to love people, show people Jesus, and when they're interested or when the Spirit moves you, then tell them about Jesus. You know what I mean? I ain't going to try to convert an atheist by saying, look, you say there ain't a God, you're an idiot, you're wrong, it's obvious there's a God, now come meet Jesus. That probably ain't going to work. But I'll love that atheist. I'll pray for that atheist. If that atheist talks to me, I'll explain why I think what I think. I'll show the atheist friendship. You know what I mean? I'll try to help the atheist. And eventually, and it's happened to me before, that atheist is going to say, man, I ain't never seen a Christian like you. So tell me about this. I've literally had that happen. And then I can talk about Jesus. Because now their heart's ready. Where I could have went in and tried to beat that dude over the head with Jesus, and I'd have been just like every other Christian that he's met. And he would have said, F you, this is why I don't like your God. But no, I just treated him like a human. I rebuked Christians who were dogging him. I said, you're worse than he is. You're supposed to be showing love. You're supposed to be showing Jesus. And look at you. I was in a big chat room full of Christians when this dude walked in. A chat room I used to hang out in a long time ago, full of a lot of brothers and sisters who I was friends with. And this atheist walked in, and they attacked him. And I went off. Well, I didn't. The Spirit was like, no. And I started rebuking them in their own chat room for calling out an atheist for saying Jesus sucked. And I said, stop it. You're worse than him. I won't even associate with you people anymore. This is exactly what's wrong with your Christianity and what you people do. It was a scene, man. It was a scene. And I said, forgive them. I was talking to the atheist at that point. I said, look, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. I said, this is not my Jesus. And this is not the Father. I said, I apologize for what they're doing to you. I said, I don't like the fact that you said Jesus sucks. I said, it bothers me. It hurts me inside. But I won't attack you for that. But let me explain to you why I think he don't. And then days later, I got an email from that atheist. And he said, man, like I said before, he said, I ain't never met no Christian like you. So I don't get it. He said, normally when I come in them, because he came to troll, it was an attack of the enemy. It's plain and simple. It was easy to see. I wasn't deluded. I knew what was going on. But I was showed how to handle it different. He said, usually when I come into them chat rooms, I get exactly what I got, which is what they feed on. So the minute you do that, you think you're battling the enemy and you're giving him steak. So that's one reason not to fall into their stupid trap. And he literally emailed me and said, dude, I want to talk to you a little bit about this Jesus guy you saying you follow, because I ain't never seen nothing like this. And it blew his mind. So again, there. Not because I'm special, not because I knew any more than these people. Most of these people were Christians longer than me. That's when I was starting my journey. Most of these people, they were doing Bible readings. That's why I was there. We did Bible studies 3 times a week. Day and nights. That's why I was there. But I let the Spirit move. The Spirit was like, hold on. I was like, uh-oh. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to say. I was willing to listen to the Spirit. That's why that happened. Again, I'm not trying to glorify me in any way. Let's make that clear. I'm just sharing that little story so you can see what warfare is all about. Because that's how the Christians wanted to war against him. They wanted to call him out and tell him he was evil and stop doing this and stop. You're going to hell. And that's what they were doing. And the Spirit was like, see, they're worse than him. You know why they're worse than him? Because they're doing it in Jesus' name. This guy was openly opposing Jesus. These people were using Jesus' name to rebuke him. And they didn't even understand how wicked and evil that was. They were rebuking skin, a human. Again, I can't even get into that here. That's a whole nother hour show. But just think about that. Think about that when you're in a Christian chat and someone comes in wanting to dog what you believe. And even if it is lewd and crude and something like Jesus sucks, are you going to immediately attack that person and condemn them? Or are you going to try to talk to that person and convict them? Which is what happened a few days later. This is how we are warriors for his kingdom. Not the way the world thinks. That's the way most of the Christians want to be warriors. They want to go out and beat and condemn and tell them how bad they are and how worthless they are. And wait a minute, wasn't I just talking about how the enemy does that to us? Huh. I think I was. So who do you think you're working for when you're doing that? If that's the exact tactics the enemy uses on you in your mind, why do you think Jesus would want you to use that tactic on them in their life? That don't even make good sense, now does it? When you sit and think about it, you're attacking that sinner the same way the enemy attacks your thoughts, by telling you you're not good enough, you're going to hell, you slipped up, you fell again, you're worthless. And then you go out there and say, in Jesus' name, I'm here to tell you, you're going to hell. You're not good enough. You're a sinner. You're worthless. Well, that don't sound like Jesus at all. That sounds exactly like the enemy in my book. That's why you got to take every thought captive. And now, before we get done and I get off track, we forgot one more piece of the armor. I think we've only forgot one. And that's the shield. And that's the shield of faith. Because you got to have the faith. Once you know the truth, because we got our belt. So I know the truth. I know Jesus. I'm in a relationship with Jesus. Once you're there, and you realize, you never forget what he did for you and that you're saved, you got your helmet. And you know that you're made righteous not because of anything you do, but because of what he did. And you follow him and obey him. And then you got your shoes on, so you're willing to go wherever he tells you to go and spread that gospel of peace in whatever way he tells you to spread it. Then, and you got your sword, so when the enemy attacks with his lies in your personal life, in your personal mind, in your personal thoughts and situations, you got that sword you can pull out and say, oh no, it's written right here. It's written. Man don't live by bread alone. It's written that I am a conqueror. It is written that I'm a head, not the tail. It's written that I'm loved by my Father. When you start pulling the sword out, then you got that angle. That takes care of all that. Then the only thing left is your shield of faith. And that's why you got to have your shield of faith. Without the shield of faith, you got to have the faith. And that's why when Jesus said the enemies prayed to sift you like wheat, he didn't say, I'm going to stop him. He said, I'm going to pray your faith don't fail you. Because without faith, it all falls apart. When Jesus healed, he said, your faith has made you whole. We better have faith. You better truly believe and have faith in that truth, in that salvation, in that righteousness, in that gospel, in that word. And if you got that faith, true faith, unwavering faith, and it's a gift, it's one of the gifts, then whatever the enemy throws at you, all the darts, all the fiery arrows, all the trowels, all that stuff, it just bounces right off because you get the sword out, or you get your prayer out, or you get whatever out, and nothing can penetrate it. That's why it's a shield. And it ain't a shield like we think of. Think more of a shield like a complete enclosed container, a bubble, whatever. A shield in all directions. Ain't nothing can hurt you as long as you got faith and are willing to believe what the Spirit's telling you to believe. And once you got all that, said the attacks don't stop. The enemy ain't a quitter. Give him that. But they're much easier to fend off. Because there'll be days you might slip like I did and be like, man, this is so horrible. I'm so tired. I'm sick of it. Moan, moan, cry, cry. Then you just remember to pick your sword back up, your shield, and say, oh, that's right, whatever. Ain't the first time, won't be the last. Let's carry on. So that's basically the armor in a nutshell. Between the sidetracks and the other subjects, but that's basically the armor. I ain't even paying attention to chat, so I don't know what's happening over there. I was on a roll, and so
I know
I wasn't reading because if I try to read chat, I get distracted.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we got a troll in the chat. Well,
that's nothing new,
right? So
trolls need love too, man. I ain't got a problem with trolls if they're willing to take it. They can come in. I'll tell the truth to a troll as quick as I will. It don't matter. They might not like it. That's again, it won't be peaceful. I won't bring peace, but I'll bring truth to the troll.
He's just in there talking nonsense and saying stuff about Jesus and trying to get people riled up.
Yeah, whatever.
So I shouldn't have actually said anything because, if you ignore them, generally they just kind of go away.
Yeah, you don't want to feed them, but you do want to tell them the truth. Trolls need saving too.
Yeah,
true. I mean, if there'd have been internet in my day when I was doing what I was doing, oh, you could bet I'd have been on there wreaking some havoc with these Christians. You could have bet I would bet.
Yeah.
So. All right, he says, no, hold on. He had questions. He didn't tell me he had questions. We can answer questions. What do we got?
Yeah. In the private chat, I did. I said he has a question, but that was a long.
Well, yeah, I wasn't looking at the private. What question do you want to start with there, Mr. Fa?
Let me scroll up here. Oh, here's the one.
Trespassers no longer in our Lord's Prayer. That's correct.
There's the one that stood out to me. Here's his biggest question, I think.
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Darn good question. And that's the whole point of the awesomeness of our Father. You're absolutely right. He don't need us at all. He don't need anything. Nothing. Father don't need nothing. But that's the awesomeness of our Father. He wants us. He loves us. He wants a relationship. We're not warriors because he needs us. We're warriors because he wants us. He already won the battle. The battle's over. We're just fighting our little parts. So yeah, the Father don't need warriors. He don't need friends. He don't need any of that. But he likes it. He wants it. He wants a relationship. That's why he created mankind. Not because he needed mankind. Because he wanted mankind. He wanted someone to pour his love out on. He wanted someone to show his mercy to. He wanted someone that he could be friends with. And that's easily proven. straight from the Bible. A real quick, easy example of the fact that Father wants us involved, not needs us. He don't need us involved in anything. You're right. He don't need us at all, but he wants us. And that's when Jesus went to Lazarus' tomb and he prayed. And then he said, roll away the stone. Now let's hold on a second. You think God needed man to roll a stone? Oh, I think God could have flung that stone out in the ocean if he wanted to. In fact, I know he could have. So Jesus didn't need them to roll away the stone. He wanted them to roll away the stone so they could be partakers in the resurrection of Lazarus. They helped in a little way. Father loves letting us help, letting us be a part of it. That's what it was all about. That's why he created us, to let us be a part of it. So that's the answer to that question. God doesn't need us for warriors. No. Again, that'd be a prideful thing. No. He don't need warriors. He wants them. He likes them. He wants relationships. That's what it's all about. You don't need it.
I'm going to show this one.
All right, let's see. What other questions we got?
There was one about explaining the Holy Trinity. Well, that's easy to explain, so I don't know what he means there.
Well, if that's easy to explain, go for it, because that's a very deep subject.
Well, no, I don't mean explain it as in, how it works and all that, the mechanics of it. But I meant just your basic, like Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. That's the Trinity.
That's what people call the Trinity, yes. I mean, Trinity's not really a Bible word, but yeah, that's what's called a Trinity, the Trinity.
But I don't, it really is hard to explain. I mean, there's a lot of churches even that don't know exactly how the Trinity works.
Right, and it's beyond understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're talking stuff that an earthly point of view, there's so much that, I mean, that's, even Jesus said, I try to tell you about earthly things and you don't get it. How are you ever going to comprehend when I tell you about the heavenly stuff? It's just, without the Spirit, you can't get it. And even with the Spirit, there's still lots of mystery. You know what I mean? You just come to the point where the mystery don't matter as much. That's what faith's all about. Do I believe there's a Father, Son, and Spirit? Yes. Do I have to know how it works? No, not anymore. That would be no, I don't need to. I just know it's real. I know what it means. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. So, yeah. What else we got for questions? He said he had lots of questions. What else we got? I don't think he's trolling. I think these are good questions.
Well, if you saw somebody...
He may mean it as a troll, but that's all right. It's bringing up good questions. It's helping to teach, so God bless him for being that kind of a troll. If your trolling's helping expound these truths, well then, I guess you lost.
Okay, so he asked, God forgiveness making all things evil pointless.
Well, that's just a question for someone who don't understand Jesus.
Right.
We ain't forgiven if we don't come to Jesus. Like I said before, there's only one way. That's how this whole conversation started, I think, about people thinking they're good enough.
Right.
You're not good enough. So yeah, you're forgiven once you are born again. So if you ain't born again, God's forgiveness isn't in the picture. God's forgiveness is for followers of Jesus. That's why Jesus came. So that sentence right there, no, God's forgiveness doesn't make all evil pointless, because all the evil that don't ask for forgiveness and repent aren't going to get forgiveness. God just doesn't give forgiveness to everyone. I wish it was that easy. If it was that easy, Jesus wouldn't have had to come. So obviously that ain't the way it works. Again, I don't know how it works. I'm not trying to understand the mechanisms of God's forgiveness, but I'm just saying we're given a clue that Jesus is the key. So it can't be just an overall, oh, God will forgive you, don't worry about it. No, you have to come through Jesus. You have to repent. You have to be born again. You have to be filled with the Spirit. You have to walk righteously. You have to sin no more. You have to do these things. It's all in there. Then you get forgiven. Evil isn't forgiven. Evil gets punished in the end, according to what we read. Now, I'm not going to say hell is everlasting torment. I don't know what hell is. I just know hell is not where I want to be. Whatever it is, that's where the evil's gone, and it ain't going to be good. Where Jesus is gone is a new kingdom with no more sin, no more death, no more sickness, no more nothing. That's good. That's where I want to go. So, evil don't make it to heaven. It don't get forgiven and get in. It's quite plain in there. It gives lots of stuff that ain't coming into the kingdom. It says it right in there. This stuff ain't coming in. It ain't getting in the kingdom. So, the concept that God forgives everything in the end, everything will be all right, that's not Scripture. That goes against what Jesus taught. So I don't believe that. I believe evil will be punished. I know it won't be in the kingdom. There's no doubt about that. Jesus makes that quite clear. So that would take care of that question. What else we got? I hope it's taking care of the question.
I don't understand this one. Human beings are potentially the Holy Spirit.
Well, I mean, that could lead from because that's a new agey type of thinking. We all have the Spirit in us. See, they think we're all born with the Spirit in us. And we just have to reignite it. We have to spark it. We have to let it come back to life. We have to fan the flames. See what I'm saying? A lot of people, especially New Age, but not just New Age, but a lot of people believe we're all born with the Spirit of God in us. And we just got to, Jesus helps wake it back up or whatever. I don't know. They think it's already there, which goes against, again, what Jesus taught, because he said, if you pick up your cross, follow me, come after me, obey me, all this stuff, then I will ask the Father and he will send the Spirit. Now, if the Spirit was already in us, he wouldn't have had to ask the Father to send it. So I know the Spirit isn't in us all. And I used to think that too. I used to say, we've all got the light inside us. We just need to spark it. We need to. I mean, it's a very subtle misteaching. But no, the Spirit isn't in all of us. Not according to what I read, because if it was, Jesus wouldn't have had to ask the Father to send it to us. He would have asked the Father to wake it up. You see what I'm saying? But no, he said, I will ask the Father and he will send the Spirit to you. In other words, it's outside somewhere. He will send it to you. So, yeah, that's that one. Now, the Spirit isn't in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Are dragons in the Bible? Sorta. Yeah. Sort of in the Bible. Again, you're getting into terms. You're getting into worldly words that can be taken so many ways. So, yeah, I would say dragons are in the Bible. The word dragon. Well, I think dragon even in Revelation, I think it does say dragon at one point. But, yeah, I would say there's dragons in the Bible. What we may consider a dragon, I guess. Again, you'd have to get into what do you consider a dragon? You got a Chinese dragon, King Arthur dragon.
I like King Arthur dragons.
You know what I mean? A lot of these questions are just, I mean, I don't want to say nonsense being nonsensical, but unanswerable because you would have to know your mindset to answer the question. What do you consider a dragon? And then once I knew that, okay, well, maybe that's in there. I don't know.
This next question is it's offensive to me, but I'll let you handle it however you want to.
Jesus returns but won't need foot kissers. No, you don't need foot kissers. Why would, no. Mm-hmm. Again, that question's sort of silly.
Yeah, well, if you think that was silly, check this out.
I mean, Jesus is our brother. Okay. Jesus, we are co-heirs. I mean, I would gladly kiss Jesus' foot. I would have no problem doing it, but does Jesus want us to do that? I don't think so. Jesus wasn't about him. Jesus was about the Father. So I would say no. Jesus, when Jesus comes, I don't think he needs foot kissers. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you're, yeah, hey, if I was a true follower of and born again son, and I got to heaven, and Jesus says, "What do you want?" and I'd say, like, Father, man, or Jesus, could you give me a piggyback ride? Probably. Why wouldn't he? I mean, again, that's sort of a nonsensical question.
Right. It is.
Would he respect you enough? No, it would have nothing to do with respect. It's love. Once you're there, it's love. So
Seems like
it's
that
not
would be kind of.
respect.
Seems like that'd be kind of fun
I
a little
mean,
bit,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd ask Jesus for a piggyback ride. I don't. Again, we're thinking on earthly terms. I don't even know if he'd have shoulders to put you on, in
Right.
the way we think of it as a piggyback ride. And personally, I think we'll be able to. Yeah, I think a piggyback ride would be quite boring by the time we get what we got coming. The last thing we're going to care about is whether we can get a piggyback ride, because we're going to be able to do all kind of stuff.
Right.
Jesus talks to me. Will you believe me? Absolutely. I never question the Spirit, but I will take what you said to the Spirit and judge it and test it, as we're told. But I will believe you. I'll believe you. If you want to blaspheme and say the Spirit told you something and it didn't, that's between you and the Spirit. In fact, me and Hebrew talked about this a few days ago privately. If someone comes to me and says they're born again, son of God, I don't doubt them. I'll believe you if you say that. I'll watch you. Your fruits are going to tell me whether you are or not. So if you tell me the Spirit told you something, sure, what did it tell you? Because the minute you tell me what it told you, my spirit's going to know whether that's something the Spirit would say. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why I tell everyone, when you hear me say something, you take it to the Spirit. Because I ain't afraid for you to take anything I say to the Spirit. Because I know the Spirit is going to back me up, because I know the Spirit, the one that's telling me to say what I'm saying. So yeah, I'll believe you if you say the Spirit tells you something. But I'll know right away if you're lying, because I'll take it immediately to the Spirit. God gives us humor to fight with? Absolutely. Laughter, the enemy hates true, pure laughter. So, yep, humor can be a weapon. Humor's part of a type of weapon. Yep.
Here's a good question. I think this next one. That's a good question.
Ask him. Ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Ask him. If someone comes to you, and I just talked about this yesterday on the show, go watch my video with oh, I'm drawing a blank on her name now. Shoot. The one that came out of New Age. Anyhow, we just talked about this yesterday. She had a spirit guide, and she thought she was a Christian. So, and they told her you could pick your spirit guide, name your spirit guide. So she named her spirit guide Jesus. She said, well, when I call on the spirit guide, I want it to be Jesus. And they said, all right, no problem. And the spirit guide that came to her said, I'm Jesus. She said, all right, cool. And followed him for years, thinking it was Jesus. And then she realized things weren't right. I mean, you'd have to watch the video, get into her testimony. But she came to realize the fact that, wait a minute. How do I know that's Jesus? So this is your exact question, is what she asked herself. How do I know this is the real Jesus from a fake Jesus? So you know what she did? She went to her spirit guide, and she said, Jesus, come here, I need to talk to you. And she went into her trance. She did her thing, her meditation. She went to her spirit guide. She started talking to him. And she said, are you the Jesus Christ of the Bible, the true Son of God? Guess what? Jesus disappeared. So you want to know how you know if you're following the real Jesus or the fake one? Ask him. Ask him. Ask him if he's the Jesus of the Bible, the true Son of God. And if he ain't sticking around.
Well, I'll tell you what, I take back what I said about him being a troll, but he was trolling a little bit, slightly, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, like I said, trolls ain't all bad. Trolls are sometime thinking they're sent by the enemy, and shall I say it again? Father loves taking things meant for evil and turning them for good. And that's why I don't mind trolls or people that come out against whatever. Father can turn it for good. So even if you did come in meaning harm, we answered some pretty cool questions that most people don't ask. So, cool.
Here's a what the heck? Um,
Half the time, no, I don't really know what I'm saying because I I don't come in with a script. I don't come in with a plan. I don't come in with notes. So, do I know what I'm saying half the time? No. Do I know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Two different things. So, make sure we answer the question correctly. Do I know what I'm saying? No. Half the time I don't know. I just let the Spirit say what it wants to say. But do I know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
wow. So Robin Fontaine, I'm assuming you're somehow in relation to Michael, or I could be mistaken. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a lot to assume, but it's possible.
Yeah. What do they mean? I could tell.
They can tell I don't know what I'm talking about,
Oh,
basically.
okay.
It's all right, man.
Hmm?
Like I said, I ain't here to convince anybody to believe anything. We're just here to talk about how to be a warrior for his kingdom. If I don't care what you believe. Like I said, you want to, you'd be dumb to believe anything I'm saying anyhow, because I've said many times, don't believe people. Take it to the spirit. Let's get that into our heads. Take it to the spirit. So if you think I'm wrong about something, take it to the spirit. It'll tell you. It'll tell you if I'm wrong. It'll tell you how I'm wrong. It'll tell you how to correct me in the fact that I am wrong. So take it to the spirit. It's that simple.
Lothar. Lothar's cracking me up here. A friend of mine has monsters underneath his bed, and then Catherine Snows replied, "Ask the monsters for a piggyback ride."
Yeah, there you go. No, just tell them to get out.
Right.
That's another thing. They make this harder than it seems because of movies and stuff. If someone's attacking you, just tell it to get out. Again, you have to have the spirit. You have to be born again. I mean, you gotta have all this that we just talked about. You gotta have your armor. You gotta know the words. You gotta know the truth. You gotta know how to work. You gotta pull your sword. You gotta do. But once you got all that, you just tell it to get out. It can't stay. The enemy's not more powerful than the Spirit and the Son and the Father. There is no fight involved. You tell it to get out. Leave. You're not welcome here. See you later. Goodbye. Beat it. Whatever. Just tell it to go. It goes.
Well, with that being said, Armor, let me ask you this: Are you satisfied with our what do you call? Oh yeah, broadcast here tonight.
I guess. Again, I'll have to go back because I don't know half of what we talked about as far as what what I said. But yeah, I mean, there was so much. Like I said before we started, there were so many roads to even get started.
Hmm.
I guess we accomplished some of what we wanted to accomplish. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah,
so much. That subject alone is so broad. How to be a warrior in his kingdom. Well, first you got to realize you're in a war. You got to realize how the war works. You got to realize what your weapons are, what your defenses are. You got to. I mean, yeah, you couldn't even cover that in shows. That's a lifetime learning, basically. But yeah, basically, our war is not carnal. We don't fight against the world. We don't fight for the world. We don't fight this. This world means nothing. Now, the people is a different story. We fight for the people. We fight to bring them to Jesus. But the world itself, this material crap, this means nothing. It's out of here. Trust me, it's gone. sooner than most people think, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Um, okay, well, I guess that's all the questions we have for the show. If you're wanting to like go ahead and wrap this thing up, and we can all get out of here, and I just wanted to say, Armor, I enjoyed doing the show with you, man. You gave me a lot of insight, even though I didn't have much to add to it. Um, I was just glad. I'm just glad to hang out with you and talk about this stuff, man. I love talking about this stuff. We just don't get a chance to do it often enough, you know.
Oh, well, let me clarify real quick because I just seen chat.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Foss says omnipotent God doesn't need fighters. Absolutely. We just went through that. He don't need anything. We don't have to do a single thing. And this war's still going to end exactly the way he wanted it to end. This world's still going to be gone. There's still going to be a new kingdom. The point is, do we want to be in it? So we don't need it. Absolutely not. You don't need anything. Jesus already did everything needed done. It's finished. And as far as Robin, I don't want the world's destruction. I just know it's happening. It ain't like I want the world to pass away. But I'm told the world is going to pass away by the Father. And if the Father says the world's out of here, the world's out of here. So it has nothing to do with whether I want it or not. I just realize it's happening. And it may happen long after I'm gone. That's absolutely correct. It might. Because I could die the minute we're done with this broadcast. But let's just say I have a feeling it ain't going to happen after I'm gone. I think I might just get to check it out. But hey, that's just my speculation. But there's no doubt it's coming to an end. That's right in the Bible, if you're a believer. If you're a believer, then you can't doubt the world's ending. It says it. The old world's passing away, and the new world's coming. It's pretty simple. So, yeah, it ain't that I want the world to be destroyed. Although I can see why. There ain't much good in it. But either way, I don't want it to be destroyed. I know it's going to be destroyed. There's a difference there. Just want to clarify that. Well, there you go. See, even your science says it ends. So there. Trust science then. Even science is going to tell you the world's going away. That ain't why the world's going away, though. But, oh, it's definitely going away. And hopefully someone got something out of this ramblings this evening. My wife's home. My dinner's ready. So
There you go.
I'm going to
Me
get off
too.
of here, like, real
Yeah.
soon. So,
That's what I was thinking too, man. I'm starting to get some rumblies in my tumblies. So I want to, as Saji likes to say, I want to get something to eat and then take a nap.
yeah.
Or in
We
this
just told
case,
him you could come into the hangouts. Now you're leaving.
well, no, I don't. I don't mean as the broadcast ends. I mean after we do our little thing backstage.
After
You know?
chat. All right. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah, and hey, don't be afraid to bring your questions. Trolls, whatever. Bring them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If I ain't got an answer, trust me. I've told many people I don't know. Just like hell. You ask me about hell, I don't know. I know it's real. I know I don't want to be there. What is it? I don't know. I don't care. It don't matter to me. I'm not going there if I can help it. I'm
but
trying to do what I need to go to heaven. So I'm not worried about what hell is. I just know I don't want to be there, whatever it is. That's pretty clear in the Bible. We can debate whether it's eternal punishment, whether it's separation. There's all kind of debates on what it is. So I don't even get into that because that's just more nonsense to keep your eyes off of the kingdom. Now we're focused on hell instead of the kingdom. I don't care what hell is.
right.
I just know I don't want to be there. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If I have an answer, well, let's say if the Spirit has an answer, because I don't know nothing, I'll be happy to share. And if not, I'll be happy to say, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I love questions. Said this is the type of shows I always wanted to do. Let's talk about the Spirit. Let's talk about the Father. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about that's related to the kingdom. I don't care if you're a troll or a believer. Let's talk about it. What do you want to know? Let's learn together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's what you said before we went live. You're like, man, I hope we have people in here asking questions. Well, there you go. It may not have come from where we expected it to come from, but it did happen.
Yeah. Again, the Father is in control of everything. It might not seem like it. We might not comprehend it. Our mind might not be able to wrap around it. But the Father knew those trolls were going to come if they were trolls. The Father knew all this stuff before it ever happened. So why would we let it sidetrack us or bother us or work us up? That the minute you do that, you just lost. You played right into the enemy's hands. Be willing to talk. That's the thing. Now, if they just totally want to be belligerent and start being totally nonsensical, you can only go so far. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
these trolls were fine. If they're trolls, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be quick to ban them or block them or kick them out or, you know.
Right.
How are they ever going to learn if you constantly are banning them, blocking them, and kicking them out? Jesus didn't ban and block and kick anybody out. He said, come on in, and while you're at it, let me tell you a little bit about this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Now, if they're just outright being belligerent and calling women or something in the chat vulgar things, that's a whole different story. Then you're going to have to go. But if you're just
Right.
asking questions, how do you learn anything if you don't ask questions? So I never have a problem with questions, even if they seem like trollish questions.
Cool.
What happened when I was born a second time? Oh man, Robin. Go listen to my testimony. It covers it a little bit. There ain't
We
no
have to.
way I can get into that now because I got to go eat. But
Yeah.
it's amazing. I'll tell you this. You know if you're born again, at least from my experience. There ain't no doubt. There ain't no question. There ain't no wonder. There ain't no, no. You know. You're born a second time. You know. It's quite amazing. Go check out my testimony on my channel. It'll tell you what my experience was a little bit. Just a little. But it's nothing like you can explain on this earth. It's nothing like you've ever felt before or done before. There's no wondering, like I said. You don't wonder anymore. You don't question whether you're saved. You don't. No. It's you change. You change fast, and you change now. Not that you're perfect and don't have things to work on, but yeah, you know, you change. You first of all, you realize how holy the Father is. At least in my situation, that's the first thing that happened. You realize love. Like again, I can't get into it. Go watch the testimony. I got to eat, or come back some other time early and ask me. So faith doesn't require doubt. Faith is the opposite of doubt. He who doubts shows his lack of trust in the Father. There is no doubt. That's what faith's all about. I don't doubt anything. I question things at times, but as far as salvation, as far as Jesus, as far as truth, as far as that kind of things, no, there's no doubt. That's what faith's all about. You either believe it or you don't. That's faith. And if you believe it, how could you doubt it? Faith is absolute, pretty much. Again, you're getting into terms. You're getting in. I'd have to know. These can be tricky questions. These are hard to answer. It's like someone asked me if I'm sure I'm going to heaven, and I said no. And they thought that means I didn't think I was born again. That ain't at all what that meant. It just meant that I think there's more than one place to go other than heaven and hell. You got heaven. You got a new earth. I don't know what the Father's plans in the end are. I know I'm going to Him. That would have been a more appropriate question. But if you'd asked me if I'm sure I'm going to heaven, no. because that might not be my assignment. I might be supposed to be on the new Earth. So you got to watch. There's trick questions. That's why I answer things funny sometimes. People don't get it because you could track me into a trick question. Faith is absolute if you can absolutely believe it. Let's put it that way. And faith is a gift. But anyhow, I got to go. We could get on with it. I mean, we can go on with this stuff all night. I got to go eat,
Yeah.
dude. Seriously. My supper's done. It's getting cold.
All right.
I got to eat.
Well, go ahead, man. I'll close out the show.
All right. Talk to you all later. Love you guys. Well, wait, if I leave, I won't be in StreamYard to talk with Saji.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I ain't going to leave. I'll just mute up. But I ain't going to have my headset on so I can't hear nothing. Have a good night, everyone. I hope this blesses you in some way. And hey, if you got questions, email me. I got my emails on my website or on my YouTube thingy or whatever it's called. So I'm happy to talk with anybody. Bring it. I love talking with the enemy, with the new guys, whatever. I ain't afraid to talk to none of you. So if you got questions, you come on and ask. But anyhow, I'm out. See you later. Father's love and blessings, everyone. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
All right. We'll see you backstage. Thank you for doing this. All right, everybody. I don't think I could say it any better than what he did. We're out of here. We'll see you next time. We do one of these shows again, which we will. But for those of you that don't know, there is a show called Taco Tuesday. It's on tomorrow night. And come on in and check us out. We usually start about 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. I don't know anything about Mountain Time, so don't ask. Good night, everybody.